What is up, everybody? Welcome back once again to Hot Toys Hotline Live. This is our special Tuesday episode, and we're doing something different this Tuesday. I know a lot of you guys probably thought I went missing because we canceled our Thursday live stream, but don't you worry, guys, I'm here. I don't know if Matt's in the chat. Matt was spreading this fake news in the Facebook Messenger chat saying I quit streaming. Come on now. And some guy was egging him on a little bit, you know? I know we got some guy in the chat, but guys, I hope y'all are doing well. We've got a fat list of figures to talk about. I can't wait to talk about it with you all. Something a little bit from each one of us on the panel, and we're going to talk about our predictions for Return of the Jedi figures from May the 4th. And of course, we're going to take a look at the past as well. Shout out to Kevin in the Hot Toys Hotline Messenger chat and also in the Discord, Base Zod, for providing me with the photos, which I could not find of previous years on May the 4th. But we'll say what's up to some people in the chat, and then we'll get started. So let me scroll up a little bit. Of course, as always, we got my boy Some Guy in the chat. Some Guy says, join us tonight, Tuesday, with Hot Toys Hotline, #1 channel on YouTube. Like and subscribe. I very much appreciate that, Some Guy. Thank you so much for the kind words, as always, and thank you so much for being here and being such an awesome friend and moderator. Some Guy also dropped the links to all of my different socials, so if you guys would like to check them out, of course, they're in the description as well. Let's see what else. We got Ty. So Ty jumped in right before we started. Ty said, got to catch the rerun, unfortunately. Have a great stream, everyone. Thank you so much, Ty. If you're watching the rerun, whenever you're watching this, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you're doing well. It's great to see you, as always. Let's see. Scrolling down. Who else we got? We got my boy, Boba Fett dropping the rock on emojis in the chat. Boba, it's great to see you, bro, as always. I hope you're doing well. Always awesome to have you here. It's not a Hot Toys Hotline stream without you, so I hope you're doing well. Let's see. We have Misfit Wolf. Misfit Wolf says, these are the figures we're looking for. Great reference there, an Obi-Wan quote. May the 4th can't come soon enough. And I agree with you, and I think a lot of people are here because they're Star Wars fans, and they would agree with you too, so I can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts. Carlito is in the chat. Carlito was in the Facebook Messenger chat. He was saying, I can't wait to hop in with you all, so good to see you here as always, bro. I hope you're doing well. Let's see who else we got in the chat. We got Control Alt Delete in the chat as always. Control Alt Delete, I hope you're doing well. It's great to see you. Payden is in the chat. My boy Payden. Payden, what's up, bro? I hope you're doing well. Great to see you as always. We got OG Fan saying hello, everyone. Another one of our great moderators. Good to see you, OG. Sluggin16 says, hey there, Hotline crew and fellow collectors. Hey there to you. I hope you're doing well. Great to see you as always. Of course, guys. We got Big Dog Pound 1 in the chat dropping that woo! And of course, Chris is not prepared with the belt. He should always expect that Big Dog Pound is going to be here. So sorry you didn't get your
Is this what we're going to do? We're just going to make it a regular thing?
It's all right. It's all right. Big Dog Pound will forgive you, but he's not ready with the belt, unfortunately, so he's going to have to go get it. We got Sid Vicious in the chat saying, what is up, y'all? What is up to you, Sid? I hope you're doing well. Boba says, all is well. Great to hear, my friend. Always awesome to have you here, like I said. And I think that's about everyone for now. Of course, as people trickle in, we'll say what's up. Now, guys, of course, we have to say what's up to our panel. But before we do that, Chris, give us that introduction for our boy, Big Dog Pound. He's got the gross face going on here. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
We got to pull him up. We got to pull him up.
Yeah, you knew what it was. Chris wasn't prepared, but collected madness is. And so for everybody joining in the chat, hit the like button. And as for my brother, Big Dog Pound, whoa! Welcome to the stream.
Love it. Love it. There you go, Big Dog Pound. We got you your intro, man. He had to bust out collecting madness.
You should just record him doing that. That should be your intro to the stream.
I know,
you don't have a stream intro, so that should be your intro to the stream.
That's
just do a couple random Chris videos.
Exactly. That way he doesn't have to do it anymore. But yeah, so guys, I want to say what's up to the panel as always. We got Ryan, of course, from Mr. Mom Collectibles. Ryan, it's great to have you here as always. I know you're really excited to talk about this stuff, so can't wait to get into it and hear your thoughts on the different characters that we may see figures of very soon.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, guys, we had to bring in Sean. Sean's a big fan of Return of the Jedi, so I'm like, let's bring in Sean tonight. I know Sean has a lot of great thoughts on different figures that we could see coming from Return of the Jedi 40th and or May 4th. So, Sean, it's great to have you here as always. The Hot Toys Nightmare. Hopefully,
Thank
the
you.
lagging has subsided. It looks like it has, so it's great to have you here. And of course, Sean's got the
Awesome.
perfect mood set with his lighting. He just wants to kind of set the mood for you guys and put the dim lighting on his face. So I hope you guys appreciate that.
It'll
And
be
then
a more romantic, kindler type of stream tonight. You
he's
know,
gonna
as you
bust out
pay
the
those little
candles.
funds in with the super chats, we'll spazzle, we'll dazzle, we'll thrill you all the night. Get that money in for Con Job Connor, the dirty dishes of the Hot Toys hotline.
I
Dude,
think I've made a mistake, everybody. I think I've made a
Your
mistake.
How
name
he comes up with
is
that stuff, man.
on the
I don't
spot.
understand.
Every
Your
single
name is
time.
never going away. Like nobody will ever forget Dirty Dish just because.
No, they won't. No, they won't. And then
You
finally,
know,
of
every
course,
time like I
guys, we
see
got-
dirty dishes in the sink, I think of Connor.
Great, great. I'm glad I can
Bro.
remind you of something. But finally, we have Collecting Madness, my boy Chris. Chris, thank you so much as always for being here. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on figures from one of your all-time favorite movies. So I'm very excited to hear your
Yes, sir. I'm
thoughts.
excited.
I know I had to have you here for Return of the Jedi. So also we have some more people trickling in. We have Jonathan M and Moving Creatures. Guys, so great to have you here as always. Good to see you. Can't wait to get started. So of course, guys, once again, as people trickle in, we'll say what's up. But as always, if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like on this video. I would very much appreciate it. And also we have in the DTOF, I almost missed Owen here. Owen, I hope you're doing well, bro. We got Fad Gadget in the chat saying, let's go. What's up, Fad? Good to see you, bro. And then we got Austin Nicholas saying, hey, friends. What's up, Austin? Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. But guys, first off, we're going to start with a look at the past. Of course, before you can try to predict the future, because that's all we're doing. Of course, guys, as the title says, these are our predictions at the end of the day. So nothing we're really saying is fact, right? But we got to kind of dig deep and take a look at the past here. So let me move us over here, actually, so we can get a better look. But guys, taking a little look at the past here, this was our May the 4th announcements for 2020. As you could see, some really cool announcements, but kind of light, right? I mean, compared to what we've seen the following years, looking at this, you're like, really? That's all that came out? Because obviously you see the Empire Strikes Back tag on these figures. But yes, guys, this is all that was actually announced on May the 4th. Of course, this stream, we are talking about specifically May the 4th. So yes, two great figures here. We have a repacked Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader. And then, of course, we have this beautiful Kenner-inspired Boba Fett here. A favorite figure of mine. This is one of my favorite Star Wars figures in my collection. And I think at the time, a lot of people didn't really have an appreciation for it, especially if you weren't like a Kenner collector, because this really had no attachment for you. And I totally understand it. Now, this figure's actually kind of selling for a decent amount of money. I mean, you could see them anywhere from like $350 to $400, depending on who the seller is. So, very interesting releases. Ryan, I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is kind of weird to look at, right? Considering the Attack of the Clones stuff that we saw, how crazy they went with Attack of the Clones. It's crazy how light they went in 2020. Kind of talk to me about this. And do you think this is mainly because of COVID and they're a little bit behind and trying to catch up and trying to figure out everything? Do you think that had a big role in the announcements that were made at the time?
I mean, it's kind of hard to figure that out because even though I'm a firm believer that, you know, Hot Toys plans their stuff. I mean, it's not a believer. They have to plan their stuff out so far in advance, whether, you know, creating prototypes, marketing, things like that. So I don't think anything is done haphazardly. So it's hard to predict because I'm trying to remember because I have to say, this is the time when I came into Hot Toys, Star Wars specifically, and I grabbed this Vader. I got him in December. So I'm trying to remember when this would have been like what? This would have been May 4th. So I got Vader in December actually as a Christmas gift. So that timeline wise.
That's a
and
great
I
gift.
never picked up the Boba Fett because at the time I just wasn't like, and I think he was gone. I let it go. So that Boba Fett's on my top like 10 of like the forgotten ones I got. Like I could have had it. I easily could have had it in my collection.
What could have been, right?
I didn't have an appreciation for it. And he's in that top 10 easily. The same thing with the Iron Man Mark IV gantry. Could have had it, didn't care for it, slipped it right through my, you know, like in retail, by the way, we're not talking price. So I don't know, man. It's hard to predict that. It's probably just what they did. I mean, I can't see them having any, you know, because we're gonna go like, because it's hard to say because of COVID, because COVID did come out of nowhere. It started around like March, and I do really think they had this stuff already pre-planned already. So I think this is just what the releases were going to be regardless, honestly. I know that Vader sat around for a little bit. I don't think the Boba did. I think the Boba went because I don't remember seeing it sit around that long. I think there were still great releases for what they were. I mean, the Empire, it's my only Vader. It's fantastic. Actually, you know what? You call out the super chat real fast. I'll take a minute.
Sure. I mean, of course, OG, my boy, being generous as always. Thank you so much, OG, for the $2 super chat. By the way, guys, we're working on something fun for the super chats. We kind of started dreaming it up specifically today. I was like, let's get this going. So don't worry, we're gonna have some funny little videos to play for super chats. Maybe not by this Thursday stream, but next week
Thursday.
we'll have it ready. So it's gonna be really fun to share that with y'all, and I can't wait to share. We got some original stuff that we're making for it, but of course, OG supporting the Boba Fett crew. He's saying must have all Boba Fett's vintage color Fett rocks. And dude, I agree. And like Ryan said, I think for a lot of people, people look back on this figure and like, damn, I kind of wish I picked it up. I've seen a lot of people say that. So this is a very interesting one because, again, at the time, a lot of people were like, this doesn't really resonate with me. I never collected the Kenner figures. I've had the Kenner Boba Fett in my collection for a long time. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is going to look great next to my little Kenner Fett figure. I got to have it. So this was a kind of a must-have for me, but definitely very interesting that they went so light on 2020. And Ryan, you can continue your thoughts on this, but yeah, I totally agree though. I do think it's very interesting when you look back at it.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's hard because if you look at the timeline, I do think it was pre-planned because it's really hard for them to, kind of change it up last second. Otherwise, to hold back figures. I think it was just what it was at the time. But there were still two great figures. I mean, the Darth Vader is gorgeous. That's the only one I have represented. And that Boba Fett, I mean, yeah, it's the one that got away. I wish I had it. And yeah, kudos to anyone who grabbed it. I definitely am kicking myself for not getting that one.
Yeah, I agree, man. And go ahead, Sean, and then I'll read the comment here.
No, sorry. But there were 5 total that were for the 40th that came out.
Right.
There were just these 2.
Exactly. These were specifically on May the 4th. That's what we're going through. Of course, there were more that came out later, like Lando, Empire Strikes Back, Bespin Luke. That was way later, like a year later almost.
Yeah, so, but that wasn't under the 40th, but the Snowspeeder was. And then the other
Snowspeeder.
Boba Fett was also. Because they did 2 Boba Fetts for the 40th. I was just clarifying so nobody started to think that.
No, yeah, we started that way.
40th.
We started that way. I said this was specifically stuff on May the 4th. And you're going to see, as we look at the following years, it did progress quite a bit. That's why I brought up the COVID thing, because you could see such a jump between 2020 just to 2021, how many figures were announced. But real quick, you guys are always roasting me, man. 12-inch Moose Stream, what's up, dude? I hope you're doing well. He says, hello, hottoys hotline, Mr. Mom. Thanks for not canceling Miss the Stream. I cancel one stream and you guys are absolutely roasting me. You guys are roasting me in the Facebook chat. I guess I deserve it, but it's good to see you, Moose Stream, as always. And then we got Owen over here telling me I look like the Toys Era Mechanical with my new haircut. The disrespect here tonight, I just can't take it. We got some absolute legends popping in. Before we move forward, I want to say what's up to everybody. Let me scroll up a little bit. We got my boy Blue Tattoo in the chat. Says, hey everyone, Blue Tattoo, I hope you're doing well. It's great to see you as always. Boba Fettuccini says, I love that Kenner Fett. That's a want along with animated Boba. That's the main get I want. I guess maybe you mean set. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, they look great together. I have those in my collection. I'm very blessed to have them, and I think they look awesome. So I hope you're able to find them for a good price, because the deals are always out there. I always say that. Just keep hunting, my friend. We got Eclectic Collector in the house dropping the woo. What's up, my friend? I hope you're doing well. TX Boy in the chat says, yo, what's up, everyone? I hope you all are doing well. I hope you're doing well as always. Great to see you. Doug Gambino is in the chat saying, hello, guys. And also, Doug Gambino, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. I very much appreciate that. Very generous of you. And he also follows that with cool channel and cool panel members. Hey, and you are a cool chat member. We very much appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for that generous donation. I very much appreciate it. And like I said, moving forward, we will have these special videos for the donations. Hopefully by next Thursday stream, we'll have that ready for y'all. So I can't wait to show it to you. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy the cringe. OG says the repacked ESB Fett is in the 40th packaging. Yes, I actually have the original black box ESB Fett, and then I have 2 of the newer ones. So it was really fun to compare them because it was basically identical, you know, just a different box. Guys, also Sean's going to adjust his camera a little bit so he's in a little bit better lighting, so bear with us there. But Fad Gadget says, I was hoping they would have given us a 2.0 re-release of Hoth Leia for the 40th of ESB. Missed it the first time around. I mean, yeah, that's actually, like, in terms of Star Wars grails, that's like one of the last ones on my list that I really, really need. So I'm really, really looking for that one right now. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Chris, did you have any additional thoughts on 2020 in terms of the small amount of announcements that we got on May the 4th? And like Sean clarified, and like I mentioned before we started, guys, obviously there were more stuff, more announcements made for ESB 40. This was just what was specifically announced on May the 4th. But Chris, did you have any additional thoughts on this?
Nothing too much. Just as far as like when it first came, I remember, you know, the little disappointment, and I know because these guys were already out and they just repackaged them. Of course, some people are always going to be happy about that, but at the time, I guess it was looked at as a little bit of a cop-out, but it's been happening more recently than anything. So
yeah,
I don't want to get too ahead of the stream because I know you got some stuff planned and I'll probably bring it back up, but yeah.
That's fair. And before we start talking about the next group, and again, guys, I told you there's a decent jump between the first photo from 2020 and the following year, 2021. Josh B says, hello, friends. Hello to you, Josh. His question was, do you think it is likely that we get a Jabba and the Emperor? Well, Josh, I'm just going to have to say, stay tuned. We are going to talk about the Return of the Jedi stuff, and maybe Jabba and the Emperor are going to pop up in that conversation. You'll just have to stay tuned. But thank you so much for being here. And I hope you are doing well, and I can't wait to talk about Return of the Jedi very soon. But guys, again, as you could see, moving on to 2021, we have a much more substantial grouping here, right? We've got 5 announcements versus the 2. Now, of course, again, there are more to follow, but specifically on May the 4th, we got Echo, that Grogu set, that relatively inexpensive. I believe it retails for around $145. The Mandalorian and the Blurg, the Stormtrooper Commander, and the standalone Blurg. So a pretty nice grouping here. Of course, with this one, you kind of have a carryover between the Blurg and the Mandalorian and the Blurg. It's funny, looking at this photo, I have almost everything here. I didn't get the Mandalorian and the Blurg because I already have OG Mando in my collection. And I was going to get a second Blurg, but I just looked at my stuff and I'm like, dude, it's going to take up too much room. After I got my Kuiil and Blurg, I'm like, I don't know if I want to get a second one of that. But Ryan, it's interesting, right? When you take a look at that first photo from 2020 and you look at the 2021, it's a pretty interesting jump between the just a year, right? And that's kind of why I brought up the COVID thing. It was very interesting to me that there was such a jump in the amount of announcements, and I don't know exactly, of course, everything's behind the scenes. I don't know exactly what went into play there, but that's my thoughts on it. Do you have any thoughts on maybe why there was such a big jump between those two, or between that year?
Mando took off because obviously, you know, if you want to count 3, 4, you know, 4 out of the 5 are technically Mandalorian related releases. So obviously, I think that had the resurgence of the show had something to definitely do with it. What's interesting about this batch is that I look at the quality over quantity. Like when you break down what they are, even though there's technically one, you know, there's 5 separate releases. One of them is a Stormtrooper. One of them is Grogu, which is kind of like an accessory because we've already, at the time, we already had one out, if I'm not mistaken. The first Beskar Mando was out. So this Grogu isn't technically new. It was kind of like a repackage, like, you know, like an accessory piece. And then the Blurg is kind of like Mando, Blurg, and then Blurg. So it's kind of like the same thing duplicated. So it's an interesting variation compared to the previous year where you had, you know, Darth Vader and you had Boba. That's it. And now obviously Mando has the influence here, but still, like, I think it was lacking the quality. You got the quantity, but I think it lacked the quality of what it was. Because like I said, one of them is a trooper that you can still get. Grogu was an accessory. Echo was really the only true standalone, like, unique piece, I think, out of all these. And the Blurg, but the problem is you got 2 of them. You got 2 SKUs. Yeah. So that thing was kind of like, all right, it's not like, you know. So that's my opinion about it, is that this one was interesting where I think it lacked the quality over the quantity compared to 2020. Like it's something different for every year, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Now, real quick, I wanted to address, I see a couple comments here in the chat. A lot of people are asking questions about like Andor and stuff from The Mandalorian. To be honest with you guys, I think if we don't see Mandalorian stuff in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be Return of the Jedi first, and then everything else follows, right? Now, I know there's some people that have given up on Andor. I personally think there is still an opportunity for Andor. My thought on it, to be honest with you, is Hot Toys is reserving all of their resources right now to get these Return of the Jedi 40th announcements out. And then they're like, cool, now we can get rid of all the other stuff that we want to announce. So that's my thought on it in terms of Star Wars Hot Toys right now. I think if we don't see Mandalorian stuff within the next couple weeks leading up to May the 4th, we're probably going to see all of that stuff start to trickle in after they announce all the Return of the Jedi 40th stuff. Obviously, because they've been working on this for a while. Obviously, they knew the anniversary was coming up. I really do personally believe, especially with Andor, that's part of the reason why they haven't announced anything from Andor. I personally refuse to believe that we're not at least going to get Cassian and possibly Luthen from Andor. Again, I know some people have said, and I totally understand the sentiment of, maybe they're going to wait for Andor Season 2. I'm not quite at that point yet. I want to see what happens post Return of the Jedi 40th announcements. That's really got what going to tell us, what the groundwork is going to be laid moving forward for future Star Wars announcements. So hold out a little bit of hope. Again, we'll wait and see. And people are mentioning the N1 too. It's all about timing, right, guys? And you saw this, a perfect example. We're not going to get into it, but the Batman Armory set. A lot of people gave up on that one too. But Hot Toys and their timing lately, it's been very weird, right? So don't give up on Andor and stuff like that quite yet. We got to just wait and see. I don't want to fully speculate on that, but that's just my personal opinion on it. I think there's still a possibility for that stuff. They're just going to want to get this May the 4th, 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi stuff out of the way first, because they've been probably planning it for a long time, because it's probably going to be a significant amount of releases. My boy David Lynchen is in the chat. David says, announce Chewie 2.0. Hey, like I said, once we get to the Return of the Jedi stuff, a lot of this stuff you guys are suggesting is probably going to pop up, so definitely stay tuned. I see 8-Bit Flea in the chat. 8-Bit, I hope you're doing well, bro. We got Duh Collector in here. Jonathan says, right now my focus is on Star Wars Animated, since I love the shows and characters, and Hot Toys is hitting them hard with all the clones. Clone Wars 20th, plus the Ahsoka show will become a Rebels display. And yeah, dude, a lot of these shows are probably going to birth a lot of great figures, so definitely very excited for you in that regard. And Peyton is saying 2021 drops were disappointing to him. Chris, do you have any additional thoughts before we move on to 2022 on this 2021 grouping here? Do you think this is an improvement over the previous year in terms of the amount of announcements? Of course, like we mentioned, we did get some Empire Strikes Back 40th stuff following May the 4th, but we got a larger grouping here for 2021.
Yeah, you got a larger grouping, but I think I agree with Ryan where it's like you got the Mandalorian, but then the Blurg, and then you got the Blurg by himself. It's almost like, I don't want to call it a cop-out, but the standout piece is kind of, Echo. And it was a little bit disappointing for me. And if I'm being honest, I would take the other two, Boba and Vader, over this whole lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%.
Now, they do give more, and then the following year, which we'll take a look at, they give more as well. So it's almost like it looks like a slap in the face for not only 2020's May the 4th, but also what they did for the 40th right there. And yeah, they did more after, but they could have done a bit more. And I fear that the Return of the Jedi may have the same fate. But sticking with the point of May the 4th releases, I think it's the perfect time where they should actually stray away from whatever's happening probably on Disney Plus or something, and it's that window, that gap to give us stuff from the past, like the prequels, the original trilogy, stuff where they could start filling in or completing these lines if they're not going to do it throughout the rest of the year where we're going to get the TV show stuff. It's either that or jump all over the place. Give us from the prequel, give us from the original trilogy, and then throw in a TV show, be spontaneous with it. But, you never know this year. It could be different. We'll see what happens. And then the one last note I'll add is I know a lot of people have said this as well, as for those 40th anniversaries, doing it the previous year so you have it on the anniversary date. Like, announce it the year before so it's out in time for you to actually have it in hand to celebrate that date. But as it
sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Killed the mood.
I'm sorry, I'm putting up a poll here at the same time. I'm putting up a poll here at the same time before I forget. But no, Chris, and also, Chris, I wanted to talk about people getting discouraged, because I see a lot of speculation, and I want to pull up a comment here. I have a couple comments to address first, but it seems like people are very discouraged this time around about Return of the Jedi 40th, specifically for May the 4th. So I wanted to open up a poll regarding that, because we're kind of talking about it. Guys, the poll I'm pulling up here, the question is, how many announcements for Return of the Jedi 40th on May the 4th? 5 or less, 6 to 8, or 8 plus? Those are the numbers I went with, guys. So the poll is up, so definitely drop your votes. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. The poll is up. Of course, at the end of the stream, we'll take a look at the poll and see what the community's thoughts are, but that's a question I definitely wanted to bring up, and especially here with this comment from Matt. Matt says we need to bump those Return of the Jedi numbers up. I know, dude. I'm hoping for more, and of course, we also have a super chat here from my boy Carlito. Carlito, thank you so much for the generous $5 super chat. I very much appreciate it. Carlito says 2020 had repacked reissues. 2021 had a new figure announcements but was lackluster. 2022 was Hot Toys return to form. I'm expecting big things for 2023. And that's a very great point. Yeah, exactly. It's a very great point. And we're going to bring up the 2022 releases next. Sean, did you have anything additional to say about 2021 before we move on to the next year?
So 2021, we got another Stormtrooper. It's not that hard. It's just basically they took the clone ratcheted joints for the body and then placed the Rogue One armor on it. And that's really it. And gave it a pauldron.
Yeah.
However, it was a sign from Hot Toys that they're willing to go outside their comfort zone, because we got the blurg. And that's what really appealed to me in 2021, was seeing the blurg. The Grogu set, we kind of knew it was going to happen, so that kind of was not a surprise. But having Echo for the first Bad Batch, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and like Ryan mentioned, like Echo, when you look at this group, Echo is the one that took some serious R&D, right? Because this is a new character for them. There's new paint apps and stuff on the armor, some different armor pieces. You got a great head sculpt that they gave us with that Echo, so that was definitely, in my opinion. Of course, the Mando and Blurg is also a new. Well, the Mando is just really an updated version, but the Blurg is a totally new mold as well. But I think for the most part, people were probably most impressed by Echo because he had all those great parts and accessories and that fantastic head sculpt. So that was definitely.
And he had all those parts that we've never seen in 2 seasons of the Bad Batch either.
So like concept stuff they were digging into, which was very cool. It's a great release, and again, I totally believe that was really the star of the show for this year of May the 4th announcements. And real quick, 8-Bit Flea, the disrespect. How dare you say that I was on Tinder? I'm over here making a poll for you guys, which I don't want to talk about the poll yet. We ain't going to talk about it, but holy crap, it's really one-sided. So I can't wait to take a look at that later and see where the votes end up. Stevie Weeby says he agrees with you, Chris. Missed opportunity to not get these anniversary figures to release them not a year plus later. And yeah, again, the timing is not always how it should be, right? And I think that was a great point by Chris. Obviously, we'd like to see them a little bit better. That's why lately we've been calling it Hot Toys timing. They don't run on the normal timing of all these TV shows and movies. They run on Hot Toys timing, So that's what we're running on right now, guys. And by the way, Stevie Weeby, great to see you as always. I hope you're doing well. And also, let's see. KS Geek Man says, Return of the Jedi 40th, a Lando skiff, Han Endor gear, then work on that Empire Strikes Back Han. Sorry, what'd you say? I have no idea what Sean just said. But anyways, but yes, guys, we're going to move on to the next year.
You said rubbing it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't.
Someone mentions Tinder, and then within like 90 seconds later, you say rubbing it.
Sean.
You go, boy.
God, I'm just catching all the smoke.
That should be your super chat.
It's not going to be.
Ooh.
Cut out
Left,
that little
sig-
part when you go
left
back.
signal
and you
on,
just
but he
say,
made a right.
rubbing it.
It's not going to be the super chat. I'm boycotting that. Apparently, the Hot Toys Grogu has gone to waitlist heaven. Well, rest in peace, the Hot Toys life-size Grogu. But yes, guys, and then as was mentioned by Carlito's Super Chat, 2022 was really the year, last year, that Hot Toys really stepped up and did some different stuff, you know? We got to see the Battle Droid finally. We've been waiting for a Battle Droid for a long time. C-3PO, the one we've been begging for from Hot Toys for years and years. We finally saw an Attack of the Clones version, but we still finally saw a C-3PO. So this was definitely a big step in the right direction. I think this is why those of us that are very interested to see how many announcements we get for 40th Return of the Jedi, I think this is part of the reason why we're all thinking that route. Because, guys, of course, strictly we are talking about what we will see for May the 4th, but think about it, guys. How many figures, Sean, did we get for Attack of the Clones between the two waves? You have the number off the top of your head, because I know you're big into the numbers. Quite a bit, though. Quite a bit, right? We're looking at what, 14, 15,
Yeah, I
something
think
like that?
offhand, I think it was 8. No, it was 9. It was 9 total for Attack of the
9.
Clones.
Really? No, I thought it was a little bit higher than that, 9 total. But still, 9's a pretty good number, guys. And I think the way that Return of the Jedi 40th is being marketed, you never know. I don't want to sell it short, you know, because I think there's a lot of potential for more coming out of it. So we're going to take a look at all the figures very soon, but I want to get through this really quick. Again, guys, I don't know if anybody here on the panel has any additional thoughts, but I do totally agree with that super chat from Carlito. I do think this was a big step in the right direction. Okay, Beskar saying 9. I'm shooting way high. I guess I was just so excited and caught in the hype. I said 13 or 14. So 9. Thank you, Beskar. 9, as Sean also said, 9 for Attack of the Clones, which is a very substantial number. 9 is pretty solid.
Well,
in my opinion.
technically, hey, if you want to count the Obi-Wan in a way, that would be 10. But that's more of the cartoon.
So that's the 20th anniversary of the Tartakovsky. So I kind of separate that.
Yeah.
I would say 9.
Okay, so
9
then
is
9.
accurate.
It's only 9
Since
then.
you guys both said that, I'm going to agree with you all at 9. Again, I thought it was much higher, but I guess in my head I'm counting the duplicates that I pre-ordered. Boba Fettuccini says, yeah, I know Chris is ready to open his mouth. Don't you dare, Chris. Boba Fettuccini says these figures look awesome. I agree. I mean, this is a great group of figures here. And again, for some of us, this is what's kind of given us hope for Return of the Jedi 40th. I know a lot of people have varying opinions on the amount of figures we'll get, but I think it gives me a little bit of hope. And Rolled Agent is here, by the way. He says, would be sick to get the OG squad, talking to Peyton. And not sure exactly what squad we're talking about. I have to scroll up here. Definitely drop that in the chat because I'm curious to see what you guys are chatting about. But Matt says no sculpts here for Attack of the Clones. Those came later in the year. Yeah, so we got our Padme, our Anakin Skywalker, Mace Windu, a lot of big announcements. So that's why I'm really excited to see what happens with Return of the Jedi. But I want to move on, guys. And now real quick, before we get into all the different announcements, I wanted to drop this link in the chat for you all and also share this with you all. I don't know if this is recycled from a previous year. This was shared by my boy Nate from Geeking Out. So I don't know if this is a previous link that he found or if this is updated for 2023. I don't see anything mentioned for this year, but I'm going to take Nate's word for it and say it's for this year. So I'm going to drop this link in the chat. This is the link to register for the May the 4th event. Again, I'm assuming that this is for this year. Nate just posted it the other day, but I haven't seen anything on this page. So, Sean, did you see this posted anywhere by Sideshow? Because I personally couldn't find it.
Yeah, so I got an email for it.
Okay.
It was sent to me by email from Sideshow.
Don says, yeah, it's for this year. Yeah, so I always get those Sideshow emails late, so I never had that pop through. It's either they're late or they get sent to my spam. I don't know what happens. It's like when the Stealth Suit Cap game came up, I got that email like a day later, so I'm not surprised I didn't get it. But thank you, Don, for clarifying that. Beskar says clones are hot. They always get the most reactions from unboxing. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of clone fans out there, and no matter where you look, every time a clone's posted, it really sparks discussion because obviously people are very passionate about clone armor, especially when it comes to accuracy. Saw a lot of people in the Discord talking about that Phase 1 helmet that came with the clone pilot and the issues with the accuracy and stuff. So Definitely agree with that. There's a lot of fans when it comes to clones, that's for sure. Nate has been data. Apparently, it didn't take much data mining. I guess it just came from the email. Like I said, I didn't get that email, but Payton says I registered for it last night. But yeah, guys, if you haven't registered already, the link is in the chat. Absolutely 8-bit. Again, I got that thanks to Nate, so shout out to Nate. But guys, we're going to get right into our first figure that we're going to talk about. Now, again, guys, these are just predictions. So this is nothing set in stone here. What this is, guys, this is a culmination of different suggestions from panel members here. So this is all of our lists kind of combined into one. It doesn't have every single suggestion, but it has most of them. There's a lot of them, so get strapped in, guys, because we're about to get started. But the first one we're going to talk about, guys, and there's a reason I have this specific one pulled up here. Yeah, we did get an announcement for C-3PO, and we're kind of going to do a recap here. But there's a reason I have this one pulled up, and that's because we're going to talk about R2-D2, guys. Now, there's been a lot of debate back and forth, and we did, when C-3PO was announced not long ago, we did talk about this R2-D2, and there was some discussion on that stream, of whether this was a new R2-D2 or if this is a stand-in using the Attack of the Clones R2-D2. When I first looked at it, I was pretty sure this was a new one. I've seen arguments on one side or the other. Honestly, looking at it now, it's hard to determine. It looks new to me, but then when you look at some photos of the Attack of the Clones, when I see some similarities, you know. I personally do think that there's going to be another R2-D2, and I think there's a reason that we see it in this photo, or I should say a few of these photos. However, obviously that doesn't always mean that that is law, that's 100% going to happen. But for this one, this was one that was basically on everyone's list on the panel, if not everyone. So I wanted to talk about this. Ryan, when you look at this, you're seeing these photos of C-3PO recently announced, and then you see R2-D2, his #1 companion next to him. Do you think this is close to a sure bet to see another one from Hot Toys?
Yeah, I think it's it's 100%. I think it's easily 100% a lock because you can just use similar molds. You obviously change up some pieces to make it accurate to Return of the Jedi, but it's not like they're reinventing a whole new mold. They have to, so it's pretty much a lock for me. Makes sense to have them with the serving tray. I would keep saying that, like the sideshow version, right? Just a more accurate look to it, I suppose. But I'd like to see it. It's a stretch. I'd like to see it with USB personally. So it's like a little red light flickers up and turns on. I'd like to see that. That'd be pretty cool. Like turning from red to blue. That'd be neat if it was, and some lights on it. If it was USB powered, that'd be cool. And then the other thing I'd like to see, which is cool, is a little like magnetic piece on the top that has like half of Luke's hilt sticking out, like he's ready to eject it when Luke was ready to go overboard. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, obviously we know they teased things before, but this is in your face, like really in your face. So it's how do you do C-3PO without R2-D2? It's just it's not something I can comprehend. So yeah, this is a given. It's absolutely 100%.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree, right? And real quick, I want to say what's up to Marcos from CollectorZown in the chat. Very much appreciate you tuning in. He says, great topic. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, guys, there is a link to CollectorZown in the description. Check him out. A great place to buy from. Marcos is an honest seller. You have to check out the Facebook group. He's always dropping deals in there. So thank you so much for stopping by, Marcos. It's great to see you.
Yes, sir.
Now, we have some comments regarding this R2, Ryan. Boba says that's got to be a new R2, no? And like I said, Boba, when I was originally looking at the photos, I was like, that looks like a new R2 to me, but I've seen a lot of different arguments one way or the other. And when you really look at the different details and such, it's like the lighting really plays a huge factor. In some photos, the shade of white looks completely different. In other photos, in different lighting, when you look at the Attack of the Clones version, it looks the same. So it's like, it's hard to say. And Eclectic Collector also brings up, like, that's when they showed Count Dooku. Yeah, they showed us the Dooku, and they showed us the Dark Side Anakin, and nothing ever happened from that. So, of course, once again, guys, I want to say, when this happens, that does certainly not always mean that it's going to happen. But for us on the panel, and we're going to hear Chris's and Sean's thoughts on this, it seems like Ryan and I are on the same page. Like, you're not going to give us C-3PO without R2 for Return of the Jedi. And I agree. I would love to see this with the serving tray and that ejection port for Luke's lightsaber for that sail barge scene. That's the ideal R2D2 version for me. I really, really, really want that sail barge serving tray, especially for those of us that have multiple R2s, one or more in our collection. It's a good way to set them apart, right? And say, like, this is 100% the Return of the Jedi one, right? Because some of those minor details the average person will not pick up. It's very difficult with R2, you know? It's very difficult, so I totally agree. And guys, of course, as always in the chat, drop your thoughts. Do you think we're going to see a new R2-D2? Do you think this one pictured here is new, or do you think this is the Attack of the Clones used as a stand-in? But Chris, I know we've talked about this before, but what are your thoughts on the possibility of another R2 for Return of the Jedi? And what would you like to see?
Well, I think it's very possible, first and foremost. They've done R2, what they did, The Force Awakens, the original trilogy one, now the prequels one. So I feel like this is a given for them to do. R2 is very popular, as you can see with the most recent one that just came out. You know, he's long gone, and some people you've seen in these chats, unfortunately, didn't get him. I hope they somehow get him, you know, maybe from a different place or somewhere still out there. But yeah, I definitely think this is coming. However, if you remember, even though like you were talking about with these pics, like with Count Dooku or like them showing Bespin Han's back and stuff before, or them showing the dark side Anakin. I mean, maybe not the Han Solo one, but the Count Dooku or the dark side Anakin, we don't know if it's ever coming. Like right now we're saying no, but that could also mean yet. Like it could be a future thing, and that future thing could be a year or two from now. Like who knows when they would, you know, want to visit that. But they also, when they were doing R2, they were also teasing that C-3PO with the red arm. And that still hasn't even come yet, you know, for people who wanted that. So you never know. Even though it's here, yeah, they could very well just have the left signal on and go right, you know?
Yeah, they've certainly done that to us many times, Chris. So again, that's a great point. We want to stress that too, guys. Like, again, these are predictions, but at the end of the day, with photos like this, that is never a sure bet. Sometimes it's a hint. Sometimes it's like, hey, this figure looks really cool with this new figure that we just announced. So not always a sure bet, unfortunately.
It's like one of those, if they like money, you know, you would think that they would do it because a lot of people would pick it up to complete the Return of the Jedi line. A lot of people want to complete these lines, and they don't want to keep doing it. But if they want to get into that and they want to prove themselves, start completing some stuff. And this would be, you know, one of those first steps to do it, is to give him his companion piece, you know, and then you'll finally have, I mean, besides the Attack of the Clones, but a golden C-3PO with his R2, both, you know, die-cast parts and stuff like that. And yeah. So we'll see.
I agree. And TX Boy is actually talking about, obviously, guys, we did get a Return of the Jedi-esque version from Sideshow in R2-D2. And I know Chris has that one in his collection. I've said many times, no disrespect to you all, I'm not a fan of it. I think it's quite frankly, I look at it and I see kind of a junky release, in my opinion. Granted, it is priced accordingly. It was about $150, but
probably looks good, and it just sits on the shelf.
Yeah, but again, for me personally, when I compare it to, I know Chris gets real defensive. We talk about a Sideshow R2. You saw the eyebrow raise.
It's one of my favorite pieces, man.
I'm sorry, when you look at the Hot Toys one next to it, it just doesn't stack up. And I think for that reason,
when you hold
a lot of people see, he's getting real defensive, guys. It's
when
like,
you freaking hold it, of course.
It's all right. When the new Hot Toys one gets announced, Chris is going to denounce the Sideshow and he's going to sell it off. He's going to
it better come with,
because he's not a duplicate guy.
Chris, are you going to get the Return of the Jedi C-3PO if they do it?
Yeah.
Are you going to get the R2-D2 when they if they do Return of the Jedi version? Are you going to get it?
You said C-3PO.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize this. Yeah, sorry.
You're getting
it honestly. So I was going to mention this too. It depends on what it comes with. If it comes with, let's say, everything that mine can't, like mine's kind of a mix of a new, like you could use them for all three of those films in the original trilogy because it comes with the base and Leia that lights up the hologram or whatever, and the tray from Return of the Jedi, and then all the parts you can plug and play with. So if it comes with like the tray, obviously diecast would be a good part. If he makes sounds, because I know the new one's making the sounds, that would be a thing for me. Yeah. And then I don't know, maybe if he didn't really do it in Return of the Jedi, at least I don't think, but if it came with thrusters or something. I would just need like that bit of like give me a reason to buy it, and then that's how I would replace it. But if it's the same standard, like all they do is a tray, I don't know because I already have it. So
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, and Matt says USB is a good idea. The serving tray for a new accessory, the launching lightsaber feature to send to Luke across the room. And can you imagine, dude? Some
You'd
sort of
lose
crazy
it.
technology, right? See you later. Goodbye, Luke's lightsaber hilt. That'd be pretty crazy. And 8-Bit saying this R2 looks the same to him. And again, it's like I look at it and my mind plays tricks on me. It's like I was very sure before, and then when I heard everybody's arguments, I'm like, I don't know now. I'm understanding both sides of the argument. Marco says, welcome. I have the time. Rare. I try to catch as many shows as I can. Well, we appreciate you being here. And Marcos also agrees with you, Chris, that the Sideshow R2-D2 is not junk and that it's for displaying.
Yeah, and he sold me the C-3PO as well. So in your face, Connor.
Yeah, but then, Beskar Kid says it's Sideshow. You get what you pay for. So
Yeah, but like I said, unless you're physically messing with it, doesn't like sit in there. Because Kevin had. It wasn't even the Hot Toys one. He had what's the fully full die cast one, and it was unpainted. It's clean. Tamashi Nations. He had that, and you had them next to each other, bro. The only thing was it was clean and then dirty, and the weathered one looked better to me, even though his was fully die cast. So I'm not gonna go with that.
Well, Chris, and this is why I like Marcos, because Marcos said, Chris, you just he's completely unbiased. He said, Chris, you contradicted yourself. I mean, you did. You did
With
say,
what?
hey, you're like, if the figure comes with enough, I'm gonna upgrade. But at the same time, you said, oh, it's just for displaying. So
Oh yeah,
but
well obviously you're gonna choose like because those are accessories. I'm going for the Of course, I'm gonna want more bang for my buck. And I said, if it's the same, they just give me the tray and that's it. I'm probably not. Like,
look,
I'm thinking about
Chris,
it.
just admit that you want to hold the R2 and play with them. I mean, Marcos.
That's it. I don't have to sit here and take
I don't have
this.
to take this. Boba Fettuccini says, my theory / opinion is Hotz is going to somewhat hold back right now and fully go balls out in 2027 for the 50th anniversary of A New Hope, but that's just me. And that's a fair assessment. Again, we're going to look at that poll at the end because that's really what is going to determine a majority of the community's thoughts on these releases, these announcements. So, yeah, we're enjoying the roast, Chris, at your expense. We appreciate you, man. But Sean, what are your thoughts on the possibility of an R2-D2? Before we move on to the next one, what are your thoughts on the possibility of an R2-D2? And do you think this is the Attack of the Clones R2, or do you think this is a new one?
I think this is a new one. I think there's a chance for it. However, I don't really know because it's Hot Toys.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in my list of what I was thinking would come out. Looking through it, I have The Force Awakens and the original trilogy R2-D2, and this is not the same one. And regarding the Attack of the Clones version versus this, I don't think it's the same one either.
Yeah.
But if we look at what we saw with Mando Luke, that was a different R2-D2 altogether as well. That was not anything that we've had.
And that one never saw the light of day.
Else they've shown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it possible that we could go through, we could get an R2-D2? Yes. Do I want one? Yes. Do I really believe it's going to happen? It's a maybe.
Yeah.
However, at the time that Sideshow made the R2-D2 and all the other droids, guess what? It's the best thing that was out there at the time. And Sideshow was number one for doing that at that time.
I will agree with that. It was definitely a much needed fan service at the time because obviously Hot Toys wasn't making them, and a lot of people had passed on the Force Awakens R2 as well. So that was most people's opportunity to get like an original trilogy R2-D2. So I will agree with that. Though I'm not a fan of the actual product, I will say they certainly did a fan service there.
However, I will also do a fan service for everyone here and let them know that Chris just goes after the older, outdated products just because he can, just to start arguments, just like what's happening now. So Chris,
No.
that's for you.
Chris is just taking all this.
Get your nostalgia, baby. Take it where you can get it.
Sean, and I got to throw a little smoke at you, courtesy of 8-Bit Flea. He says maybe the R2-D2, maybe it'll come with an oil accessory, like a little oil can accessory to oil your chair. That's what 8-Bit Flea is hoping to see with his R2-D2.
You know, that would be freaking fantastic.
Can you imagine having your own droid, Sean, to where your chair is always WD-40? You never have to.
Well, I thought it would be cool to have my own dog, and that's just freaking price gouging right there. So it's all false advertisement. If I get a droid, I got to keep up maintenance on it. It's not.
That is true.
It just takes away Hot Toys for me.
That is true.
You hear that? You see Boba Fettacini's comment? He's waiting for the UPS guy. Now, y'all keep disrespecting my name. I'll make sure every UPS person that ever delivers your
don't you
packages
front,
up
Chris.
quick.
You don't deliver in my neighborhood. Stay in your lane, buddy. You don't deliver.
I'll
in my neighborhood.
contact your union, pal.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. But guys, moving on to our next one, we got a Stormtrooper from Return of the Jedi. And guys, if there was a previous release, I wanted to bring up the old listing, but for those that don't know, there were actually 2 SKUs for the Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper. We got this standard release with what you see here. Not much, just some hands and some blasters. And there was also a deluxe release that came with that beautiful Death Star wall display. You guys know I actually took the one from my Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper and put the Stormtrooper Luke on it because he actually didn't come with it, but the hand did. But yeah, Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. This is way too easy. I think this is happening. I really do. It's just an easy repack for them. It's an army builder. It's a dough bringer for Hot Toys. I certainly see them doing another Stormtrooper just to throw it out there and make some extra money. Again, guys, as you're seeing this list, all these characters, share your thoughts down below in the chat because I would love to hear your guys' opinions on these. But Ryan, this was actually one of yours, and this is one that wasn't on my list, but when you sent it to me, I'm like, yeah, that's an obvious one to me. Maybe it was just going to the back of my head because all the other figures on my list, I'm like, I need those, I need them. This one is, I'll take another Stormtrooper, but I don't need it. How likely do you think this one is to happen, Ryan?
I think it's 50-50. I want one just because, I wasn't a huge army builder. I like to at least get 1 or 2, but I just love the look of. I love this look and I love the A New Hope look, but I really love this with the green lenses. So I'd love to grab. I definitely would grab probably 2 or 3 of these. I would army build this. Yeah, I would go total Nate on this if I would grab probably 2 and 2 minimum and probably a 3rd one if these came out. Yeah.
It depends on what he comes with. Now that's another
and if it was priced right, if these things are
right. So original retail price on this standard version was $190, I believe. Let me click out. I think that's what it was. $189. So it's I remember these sat in stock, dude. They just sat and sat and sat.
If this was a 220, 225, because I think the Trooper Commander was 220 right now on Sideshow. So if this thing's 220, yeah, I'd get 2 or 3 of these things.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people are going to want to double up and triple up on these. I would probably grab at least one more because I already have.
I could see this being a May 4th release because it's the easy one to do.
Right, easy repack.
I'd probably piss people off by saying that, but this is an easy here's something. You know what I mean? Just to give you something. I definitely could see this being an easy repackage and just flip it for May 4th.
Yeah,
personally,
I totally agree. And Chris Boba Fettacini says he's sorry he didn't know that you were in the Brown Mafia. And then Stevie says you better keep away from his UPS man. How dare you? How dare you, Chris?
Yeah, I said not his because he agreed with me earlier in the stream, so he's safe. All right,
he's giving you a pass. And OG,
it's for the roasters out there.
Yeah, he's got smoke for everybody else. OG says I've got 3 of these Return of the Jedi Stormtroopers already, but I will always buy more troopers. And yeah, this is certainly an army builder. It's one that I can see a lot of people. Again, like Ryan said, price pending. I see a lot of people going for this one. And with this one, I could certainly see them because of the style of this packaging, just repacking this exact same figure and just giving us some maybe additional hands. But apart from that, I could see the exact same thing just repacked. Stevie agrees with me. The collector would like to see this with an Ewok. That's very interesting. That'd be an interesting set for sure. David says Stormtrooper horror front and center. Count me in. I love it, dude. Again, a lot of army builders are gonna love this one. That's for sure. Ekwan is here. By the way, Ekwan, great to see you. He says the shiny clone and pilot is an easy army money builder. Hot Toys didn't want to make a lot of them. Allergic to money. I think what it is, again, we're not going to get into that too much, but of course, we've mentioned it in the past. I think Hot Toys is just tired of the stock sitting. So because of that, they're working out with the retailers, the amount of figures they're getting. I think those molds were very easy for them to make for the troopers, so they certainly made their money one way or the other. That's just my personal thought. R. Castro says, this is my second time watching you live. Question for the panel. What will be the next Star Wars Hot Toys creature release? Well, number one, thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. Number two, that's a good question. I mean, do we see some creatures with, and then maybe we'll talk about it, Jabba the Hutt. Do we see some creatures coming with Jabba the Hutt like we saw from Sideshow years back? Maybe. It's hard to say. We're in Return of the Jedi time, so everybody's like, oh, where's my Rancor? I'm sorry, Nate. I'm not going to go that extreme and say we're going to get a Rancor because that's very unlikely in my opinion, but that's tough to say, Castro. I don't want to just throw something out there to throw it out. I don't know. Again, the next creatures in my thought, maybe we'll get some weird like slug creatures like we saw with Jabba the Hutt. Maybe something like that.
Guard.
Do we count Gamorrean Guard as a creature? Maybe we could. Maybe we could count the Gamorrean Guard as a
would.
creature. But yeah, maybe Gamorrean. That's a
Certainly
good,
doesn't look like any of us.
That's a good thought. Maybe we could count the Gamorrean Guard as a creature. I would say that's fair. So maybe the Gamorrean
Well, we
Guard.
could say that about some humans too, that they don't look like any of us. So there's that.
Connor's in here, so.
See, Chris, don't you try to put this on me, man. You accept.
Man,
your
the
fate
Dirty
tonight.
Dishes creature pack.
Oh man, I'd buy it. I'd buy two, right, Chris? Right?
We don't
Dude, I
have
wonder
enough
what the
over here,
exclusive
pal, unless
version
it's a
comes with.
2-pack.
Beskar makes a great point. What if Hot Toys started including those bent feet? Remember with the old Sideshow clones, and recently we even saw it with the iconic Ryu came with those bent feet. I would love to see some bent feet. I always say this, guys, the more hands included, any additional options for posing, the better. So I like that thought, Beskar. I would love to see that introduced with this Stormtrooper. That'd be really cool. And it definitely makes a lot of sense. Bless you, Chris. You are the man.
God bless you.
Castro says, yeah, alien or creature. Yeah, so we'll count the Gamorrean Guard. We're going to talk about the Gamorrean Guard. And Stevie says he'll count it. He'll count it as a creature/alien. We got Hot Toy Collector in here, always joining us in the morning from Singapore. Even though the topic is Star Wars for today, not a Star. You love to tell us that, dude. Still logged in to support the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing in the discussion, and thank you so much for the support as always. But yeah, I guess that's our answer, Gamorrean Guard. And spoiler alert, we are going to talk about the Gamorrean Guard a little later. But Chris or Sean, did you have any additional thoughts on the Stormtrooper in terms of the likelihood of this one coming out?
I'd love to see it. I think they could do it with the troop armor. They love their clones. This guy's no different from being in the trooper pack. I know they did a 2-pack before of a Stormtrooper. I don't think it was Return of the Jedi, was it? It was A New Hope, I believe, right?
For the 2-pack, yes, those were New Hope troopers. Yep.
Yeah.
A New Hope.
So maybe they could give it for
Yeah, it was A New
Return
Hope.
of the Jedi.
Yep.
I would take a 2-pack of it, but yeah, that's about it. That's my thoughts. Sean can go.
Real quick, I just want to say
Yeah,
a good evening to Marcos.
So if
from
they do the-
CollectorZown. Go ahead, Sean, and then I'll send Marcos out before he heads out. Go ahead, Sean.
So good evening, Marcos. Anyways, if they do the Stormtrooper, it's going to be a reissue for one. I want it to be somewhat different. And I know there's questions about stock and everything else, but I think it would sell better if Hot Toys did a 2-pack and gave it with the backdrop like the deluxe version of the Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper had, and put 2 of them in there.
That's a good thought.
So having the same backdrop with the light up function for the lights from on the Death Star.
And Sean,
background, I
made,
think that would be awesome.
I will support your comment there. I've made the point many times that this special anniversary packaging kind of limits what they can do, but I do, visualizing it, I do think they could fit that in this style of packaging because it's actually not too wide. I think they actually could fit that in that packaging. So, hey, I would be very excited if they did those wall panels again, because then I could have one that actually matches. Because believe it or not, the one that came with Stormtrooper Han and the one that came with this trooper, they're two different shades of gray. Yeah, they're two different shades of gray. So I would love to see another one. That'd be really cool. Battle damage. That's a cool idea. Any battle damage, I'm game for it. I love battle damage. I'll take it. And guys, just to let you know, those of you that are throwing out suggestions, don't you worry. A lot of the stuff you guys are suggesting, we're going to get to. I don't want to pull the comments up yet because we're going to talk about it when we get to it. We have a lot of characters to go through. But great thoughts, Sean. Did you have any additional thoughts on the Stormtrooper before we move on to the next character?
No, I think that. Well, I do have one more thought. If they don't do the Stormtrooper singularly, and they do it with the 2-pack, it's possible too that it may be with the figure that the only way you buy it is with the Stormtrooper. So
Okay.
that's always a possibility as well, where that way Hot Toys gets more bang for their buck.
Stormtrooper
It'd be
Ewok
cheap for
2-pack.
them. Yeah, or something like that.
Didn't they had the helmets from Return of the Jedi in the Ewok?
Yeah, with the Wicked
and
set.
Leia-
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
Or even if they did, like, say, a TIE fighter pilot with a Stormtrooper 2-pack,
let's go.
and that would be the only way you could get the TIE fighter pilot, everybody would buy that.
Oh man, I want one so
And
bad.
a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I wish it was a single," but I would buy the 2-pack and I wouldn't complain.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would. A lot of people would go in for original trilogy Trooper pack. I think a lot of people at this point would go for it. Matt said, "I'm going to get my precious Ewoks." And Michael Anthony at the same time is talking about Stormtrooper and Tebow. Dude, I've said it many times. Tebow is my favorite Ewok, so I love where you're going with that. Yeah, it is very interesting, OG, that they're different. I put them next to each other, and I'm like, it's not different enough to where I'm upset about it, but I would love to have two matching ones, you know? But moving on to our next one, guys. This was actually a suggestion from Sean, and I like where he's thinking with this one. Our next one, guys, pulling it up, and this may be one that's not really in a lot of your minds. This is our Red Leader Wedge Antilles. Now, guys, Wedge Antilles is a very important character, and he's one of not many characters that you see make his way all the way into the sequel trilogy, you know? This is a very important character. We even saw him in Star Wars Rebels, a young Wedge Antilles, so this is a special character to me, a very, very beloved character to many. I gotta be honest with you, my thought is, when I look at the list that I have here, I gotta be honest with you, this is probably more towards the not as likely to happen in my opinion. Would I absolutely love it to maybe throw in with Snowspeed or Luke because they would just look great together? I would love to see it, but for me, this one I just don't see as likely as the other ones. Is it impossible? Not necessarily. And of course, as always, guys, in the chat, what are your thoughts on Red Leader Wedge Antilles? So I'm gonna move on from my thoughts because again, to me, this one is not as likely. I would love to see it, but those are just my thoughts. Ryan, what are your thoughts on a Red Leader Wedge Antilles?
I would love to get it just because it harpers back to I wish we had more pilots. So I'll take any rebel pilots any way I can get them. So if it includes Wedge or anybody else, I'd love to get one. Same thing with like Imperial officers, TIE fighter pilot. So I wish we had more rebel, like I said, figures like this.
Yeah.
So I'm down for it. I agree with you on the spectrum of figures. If you're looking at it on a big board, I would probably say on the least likely to happen, yeah, I'd push this one over there, which is a shame. But I just think it goes back to that point is that if you're dealing with a 9, let's just say a 9 slot, because Attack of the Clones was 9, and you're dealing with a 9 slot, you already technically released 2 and teased another 2 between Vader, C-3PO, R2, and the Emperor, and you know you're getting Luke. So you just filled up 5 spots out of 9, and you're not even tapping into a Stormtrooper, which is 6. I just think that, yeah, it's not going to happen, but it's a shame. I'd love to see it, though. Love to see it. Maybe like as an exclusive toy, like a summer exclusive somewhere, but I don't see it as being part of the initial return. I think it's going to be main characters and kind of where it is. But I'd love to see it, though.
Me too. And again, it's something that I would love to have, and I'll say it again, he would look great with that Snowspeed or Luke, but it's just like when I look at what's probably on their mind, I don't see this one as being as likely. We have some people in the chat leaning towards that way too. 8-Bit Flea says, I would love it, but it's not going to happen. Pescar says, Grogu says, no, 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 no. Yes, I love that reference to the IG-12 there. Love it, dude. It cracked me up. I absolutely love that that evolution of that character. David says, it's a trap. When OT isn't being released, we're buying Disney. Hey, a lot of people are backing off of the Disney series stuff right now because they're waiting. They're certainly waiting for that Return of the Jedi 40th stuff to drop. So, and yes, guys, thank you so much, Boba. Boba says, like that hit button. It always throws me off. This is his signature, though. Like that hit button, guys and gals. Yes, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like on the stream. I would very much appreciate it. And Matt says, I love Wedge. Totally reusable for Red 5 Luke for a New Hope anniversary. Template is kind of already there with Snowspeeder Luke. And I agree. I'm certain that at some point this could be on their list. But for me right now, again, and Ryan as well, it's just not one that we're really thinking is as possible. Chris, what are your thoughts on the possibility of this Wedge Antilles Red Leader figure?
I'm with you on this one. I think it's not really in their set. If they did do it, I personally wouldn't pick it up. I feel like it would go better, with the Empire kind of vibe, especially because of that snow speeder. That's where I'd put them in the collection if I had them. So I don't think I'd be too pleased with this as a release for Return of the Jedi. I like them, but at this point, they didn't give me Poe Dameron. I know that's kind of controversial, but yeah, I'd probably even take him over this one. Sorry to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it pains me to say it because I love the character so much, but I gotta live in my own reality, and. Yeah. And Sean, being that this was yours, that doesn't necessarily mean that you think this is a very likely release. What are your thoughts, Sean, on the possibility of seeing this amazing Red Leader Wedge Antilles as a figure?
So it's low. So my thought really is it's low, but do I want it? Yes. It's in my top 5 that I want. However, I have a feeling that for Return of the Jedi, everything's going to be either most of it will be a reissue or some type of 2.0.
Yeah.
Of the same character that we've already had. And I'm going to be angry if only Darth Vader and C-3PO are the only things that are not. Or the only new concept that they make in 1/6. But I think that, and this is completely reusable for A New Hope. The head sculpt would be completely reusable for a 45th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that this would go with your Rebels collection because Wedge Antilles was in Star Wars Rebels.
Yep.
So, he has a large genre of everything that he's been in.
Even the
he's an important character that people forget about.
I agree. Him and Biggs Darklighter, too. That's another figure I'd love to see. I'd love to see the whole Red Squad together. That'd be like a dream display, Again, it's good to see that we all are kind of living in the best reality that we can. And that's that this one is not as likely, but we would love to see it. And Beskar, talking about pilots, Beskar saying he would love a Poe Dameron and a Hux. Dude, I mean, the Poe Dameron still makes me sad to this day. Hux, I mean, it would be cool, but I could do without him. But Poe Dameron would have been really cool. I love Oscar Isaac, so.
We could get an albino, First Order officer. That'd be awesome, right?
With that, Sean, we're going to move on to the next one. Another one of Sean's, and one that I was definitely very interested in when I saw this on his list. And guys, that is the absolutely beautiful TIE Fighter pilot. One of the best helmets in Star Wars, in my opinion.
This is up there. This is like top 5 for me.
I know, dude. This is a tough one, though, man, because they've stiffed us so many times on the TIE Fighter pilot. Granted, there is a glimpse of hope because we did get a TIE Fighter pilot for The Force Awakens. I believe that was a Force Awakens release, which didn't look too bad. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't totally against the Force Awakens version. However, of course, this is the TIE Fighter pilot that we'd love to see. This one's tough for me, dude, because I want it so bad.
It's pushed to the side of ones I don't see happening with Return of the Jedi.
And we can kind of have an open discussion on this one because I think it's.
I was hoping we were going to see this because even though I think Sean and I jumped in and talked about it when what episode of Andor? It was like episode 2 or 3, where he was being chased down in the field by pilots, and you had some pretty good
it's like 3 or 4
close-ups
something
of
like
a
that,
TIE fighter pilot. It was brief, but to be granted, they made figures that had probably equal amount of appearances in different things. So I was hoping that, like, if there was Andor, I'd be like, yo, give us a TIE. Like, that was another affirmation. I thought we were going to get one. Maybe not with an Andor release, but like, it's been shown enough where, like, this is another one where I'd probably get at least minimum 2.
Right. This is a bare minimum 2.
Like, 2 of these be standing behind Vader. Oh man, I'd love it.
This one hurts me, dude. Again, it hurts me to say it. I just don't see it. And like, bro, this is one I know that 8-Bit would be really excited about. And he says, I wish we would get this TIE fighter, but I don't think we will. And I'm with you, dude. Like, this is you guys know I love my clones, but when it comes to troopers, I'm Imperial all day. So when Sean put this on his list, it made me sad and happy at the same time, because I was like, damn, we're probably not going to get that anytime soon. But again, we did get a first order version of it from The Force Awakens, and that was certainly pretty cool, but it's not the one that we want, and I agree, Ryan. I think this is going to be one that's going to get passed up on yet again. It's unfortunate, but I think we're going to keep on waiting for this one. Maybe an opportunity will present itself later for this guy, but right now I just don't see it happening. Chris, what are your thoughts, if you have any, on the TIE fighter pilot being a thing?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people talked about it, so I'm sure Hot Toys has heard from the word. Like, this is a very, like, sought-after thing, and I know Sideshow did one before. Sideshow did a lot, so I'm surprised Hot Toys hasn't, jumped to, like, redo those, and who knows, that could be a thing because they have done it, but
yeah,
I might be with you. Like, I just feel like for these type of releases, it should be, like, those main focus characters, but it's tricky because they've already done them. So if they did them again, it'd be a 2.0 or something, or a reissue, with the repackaging. And you would want something like this, to be honest, because it is special. So I'm not going to say no to it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up either.
Yeah, I agree. And OG, real quick, to answer your question, that was a Sideshow release. I believe the Sideshow TIE fighter pilot was Rogue One. I think that's where you're getting that from. But yeah, unfortunately, Hot Toys did not. The only fighter pilot we've seen from Hot Toys was the First Order version, unfortunately. And Matt, very well said. Howie does love his troopers, just like he loves his Iron Man. A lot of those are very easy for them to pump out, and this is one of them. Very easy turnaround time, because once you pump them out, like you mentioned earlier, no head sculpts, no problem, Unfortunately, Sean got kicked out on this one. We'll circle back around later. We're going to move on to the next one, but thank you so much, everybody, for continuing to put your thoughts in the chat. I love to hear you guys' thoughts, so you can kind of add to the input that we're sharing with you all. But the next one, guys, this is a twofer, guys. I had to put them together, 2 separate recommendations, but not only do we have Jabba the Hutt, but why not have his partner in crime, Bib Fortuna? So, before we saw that C-3PO announcement, I would have said to you guys, you know what, Jabba the Hutt's not happening. 100% not happening. I just don't see it. We got a little glimpse of hope from that C-3PO announcement, and that's another reason why I wanted to bring C-3PO back up, because C-3PO does include Jabba's an obnoxious little Kowakian monkey lizard, Salacious Crumb. So, not only that, they did name drop Jabba the Hutt in the C-3PO post. So Sean is back with us. They did name drop Jabba the Hutt in the C-3PO post, so part of that gave me a little glimmer of hope. Did it give me this is 100% happening? No. But when I saw those few little breadcrumbs, I'm like, maybe there is some possibility to this. Now, granted, guys, if we do get this, I certainly think this is going to be like a total power pose. His arms will probably move up and down like this, and that's it. That's what I see happening with this one. Now, the good thing about that, if it's power pose, usually obviously the power pose stuff is a lot less costly because it's so much more simple and it's mostly one piece. So if they do it, and of course I'm simply talking about the Jabba right now, I think that's what the route will be that they go, is they'll go for a power pose. Now, of course, guys, once again, let us know your thoughts in the chat about the Jabba the Hutt. What is the likelihood of it? In terms of the Bib Fortuna, Sideshow did one. It's a bit outdated at this point, but Sideshow did a Bib Fortuna.
Did
Do
both of these.
Yeah, and Sideshow did a Polystone version of the Jabba the Hutt as well, but we also had the posable version of the Bib Fortuna. Do I think it's an important one? I do. I was actually a little bummed that we didn't see a Bib Fortuna from the end of Mando Season 2 when he got smoked, the fat version. I was like, I'll take that version. Unfortunately, we didn't see that. Do I think Bib Fortuna is high on their list? Well, that depends on whether they do anything about Jabba, you know. In terms of the likelihood of Jabba, guys, I'm about 60-40, 40%. Actually, I want to say like 35% that I think it may happen. I'm not very certain about this one, but again, I went from about 5% to 35 once I saw those little breadcrumbs. I'm like, oh, maybe there's a possible chance for it. So that's what I'm going to say for Jabba. In terms of Bib Fortuna, I want to say that's very dependent upon whether they give us Jabba or not, because I think that would also make a great companion cell for the Jabba the Hutt and Bib Fortuna together. You know, people are going to want both, so they'll probably sell both of them if they have the opportunity to do Jabba. So that's my thought on it. Since Sean got booted out as we finished up talking about the TIE Fighter, I want to go right to Sean on this. Sean, what are your thoughts on both of these guys here, Jabba and or Bib Fortuna?
All right. First, I gotta apologize to everyone. We have a really bad storm here in Utah, right?
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. We held it down.
That's why I keep going. Fading out.
Yeah, your voice is cutting out hard, Sean.
So real quick on the TIE Fighter pilot, I'm more of a 60-70% thinking that it's going to happen.
You're very delayed, Sean. You may want to try to leave and rejoin. We'll move on. Sean, once you get it worked out, we'll give it a shot again because your voice is cutting out quite a bit. But I'll address some comments real quick before we move on to Ryan and Chris's thoughts. Because we've got a lot of people excited to talk about Jabba. And Matt, I like this thought, dude. Even with a power pose, I could see that happening. Them embedding a magnet inside and giving us a magnetic tongue. I think that would be really cool. And definitely not completely out of the ordinary for Hot Toys. Boba Fettuccini says, I think Jabba will happen. He's synonymous with the Return of the Jedi. There are little crumbs saying they will. And again, I did mention those crumbs. I went from like 5%, this ain't going to happen. And once I saw those, that puts me at about a 35%. I could even stretch it and say maybe 40%. I'm not very certain on this one, but I think it's possible for sure. And we have another comment here about the TIE pilot. Michael says that SS A New Hope TIE pilot was a great figure, as was the AT-AT pilot. For some reason, I thought they did two TIE pilots. I might be wrong, but I swear that they did a original trilogy version and a Rogue One version. I don't collect a lot of the old Sideshow stuff, but I'm pretty sure they did both. I could be wrong, though. Beskar says, I'm telling you, Jabba from the sail barge. Dude, and again, depending on what they do with a lot of these figures, if it all points towards sail barge stuff, I mean, it would make a lot of sense, right? And Josh thinks that getting the Salacious Crumb with C-3PO foreshadows a Jabba figure. Again, we're talking about those breadcrumbs, and that's certainly one of them. 8-Bit says, I think Jabba is coming as the same texture to the Blurg, so I think they will do it. And yeah, the Blurg, King Shark, another figure where I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I could see them doing Jabba in this fashion. And OG sees a little bit of different route. He says, I think Jabba is going to be a silicone body with a metal skeleton. Innovation on display. I want a belly that shakes like Jello. Well, that would be very cool. I'm going to stick with the power pose route because I think it's just more cost effective for them, and they're going to want to keep the cost down on this one because, as we know, even being power pose, it's probably going to be in the $400 range. If you think about it, King Shark is $220. He is that's a very large figure, but I think Jabba, with the stuff they may include with them, we could see it in the $400 range. Another thought on Jabba is, like, do we think he's going to come with a throne if they do announce him?
Deluxe throne.
And that's what I was talking with Nate on the phone about it the other day, and I was like, I could see them maybe doing a standard version of Jabba without a throne. He just has a flat kind of lower body, so he could sit flat on a surface, and then maybe a deluxe version that comes with that throne and the big base for it. I certainly think that's possible. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on the possibility of a Jabba the Hutt and or Bib Fortuna here, his partner in crime.
This is probably, I'm trying to articulate my thoughts here. This is probably the number one character that I'm most indecisive about. Han Solo being number 2 in regards to whether or not we would actually see it. Everything else is pretty easy. I think it's a yes or a no. Yes, like if you go down the checklist, yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no. Jabba and Salacious Crumb and Han are the 2, 3 that I am so like, I probably have a better chance of winning the lottery than guessing if these things are going to get made. Just because, even though Jabba, I look at it as, like for me, when you said 400, I'm in my head. I'm like, I wish. I think this thing's going to push like 5s or 6 because of the size of it. I mean, granted, like looking at the Batman armory that just got released, and there's not much to that. That was pushing 600. It's like mid 5s. I mean, this Jabba piece is going to be pretty big, even if it was a power pose. I think it's going to be more money than probably that. And I think that's one thing I'm trying to keep into consideration is I'm not trying to look at it as like quantity of figures. Like this job is probably equivalent to what, 2 hottoys?
In terms of the size,
girth,
and
the size of it, the price of it,
yeah.
It's probably worth the value of 2, like of a DX Vader and a Stormtrooper. You know what I mean? It's probably worth like 2. So I just don't know if Hot Toys trusts people enough to put this out there and think it's going to sell. I don't think that they're going to do 2 SKUs of this. I hate to hark back to, if you say his name 3 times, he might appear, Denobi. But I think it's either going to be either or, like Throne or not. I don't think they're going to waste it and do 2 because they will sit 100%. It's almost, it's kind of silly. Go one route, go one or the other and just stick with it personally. It's hard. And when you look at Jabba, I think of him on that throne. I don't think of him in any other way, except for maybe like the outdated scene in A New Hope when he was like a younger version, when he was actually moving around in the Millennium Falcon hangar bay. Other than that, I always think of him as just sitting on a throne the whole time. So I think it's going to be one or the other. Personally, I'm just very torn, dude. I don't know. And then to push people enough to say, here's Jabba, and then like I don't think it'll be a 2-pack with Salacious Crumb, but like I just don't. It's very interesting. And, I was going to pose this question back when we were talking about R2. If you don't mind, I kind of will. But, like, do you think that R2 would be the next release because he was probably fully teased? I'm trying to put breadcrumbs together because, like, if they did R2 with the tray and that was very Jabba-esque, in my opinion, since they've already done Return of the Jedi figures, it would probably make sense for them to touch and focus more on the Jabba scenes since it wasn't touched that like that. And I know, Connor, there's other figures, not the teas that we have that are still more Jabba related, but dude, I'm like 50, like I'm 51-49 on this in a way. Like I'm so torn.
It's
like
very
I can see it.
Really
like if I wake up in the morning and I see this announced, I'll be like, oh crap. Like I saw it coming. But then if I don't see it, I'm like, all right, I'm not surprised they didn't do it. It's like the N1. I completely feel the same way about the N1. Like if they don't ever do the N1, I'm not losing sleep over it. But if they did it, I'd be like, holy crap, it's actually
right. They're doing it. I can't.
Yeah.
I agree. It's going to be a big shock with Jabba, even though a lot of us are like, I don't know. I think it's certainly possible. But yeah, Fad, I agree. I think that's the route they'll go just to keep the cost down. And Beskar agrees with Ryan. He thinks that they'll just do one version with the throne. Again, me personally, that does make the most sense. But I do think I don't think it's impossible for them to decide to do 2 SKUs.
It'll be easier to look back.
We have seen him slugging around. And
when the dust is settled. When the dust is settled, and like this is, I don't know when like these, like I said, these drops are all going to happen. But let's just say we fast forward in time. And we're looking back on all of the releases, like everything's done. This is what we got from Return of the Jedi. Then it'll be interesting. Like I almost want to do another follow-up stream once all the releases are out and actually look at what was released versus what we predicted.
Oh yeah, we'll certainly.
And then if there was minimal figures where it was like, they could have done 2 Jabbas. But if they're going to do like 15 figures, then they only got to go in on 1 Jabba because it doesn't make sense to have 2 versions of. Like the Vader makes sense because it was MMS 700. They're going to go balls on that. But anything forward, I'm just interested. I'm really interested to see what the next release is and if that's another breadcrumb of what potentially could be happening and where Return of the Jedi is going to be more focused in terms of its figure releases and what areas of the movie. That's what I'm intrigued with.
Yeah. Well said. And Matt said he's thinking 650 on the price.
Yeah,
I
I'm in
mean,
that price. I'm in that price range.
it really depends, in my opinion, on what they do with it. Again, if it's plastic, I mean, again, King Shark was 220. If we get another plastic Jabba, he's obviously about double the size in terms of length. But King Shark's a giant figure, guys. He really is. So I could see 400 for the figure, and then if we factor in the cost of the throne, about $120, $150 in that range. So yeah, I mean, I don't think 650 is far off. Obviously, when I said 400, that's if they give us a Jabba without the throne.
Does anyone have the sideshow Jabba on this panel, like Chris or Sean? Do you guys have it?
I don't know if Sean has it. I know. Cigars has it. He's obviously not here tonight.
I have it.
Like how tall? Like I know it's like long, but like the tallest figure I have is like Hulk or Thanos. Like, is it like a long, like a big piece? Like it's long, like comparable wise?
We'll actually walk over to it. So I had to use my phone to get connected.
Oh, I'm just
It's
curious.
a big box. I know that.
I don't know how big it is because that's why I think that 600-800 is like if it's a big piece, like despite what it's made out of, I still see it in that price range. But I'm like I said,
Well, shoot, if they beat Hot Toys price, people will jump on it. I mean, Sideshow's price.
I think they will, because Sideshow is using polystone, and that's more
Yeah.
expensive typically than like a molded plastic. Yeah, for sure, Matt. If he includes anything else, obviously the throne would have the hookah and everything, so that definitely adds cost. And if he comes with any companion creatures or anything like that, like a slug or something that he's, anything really they can include with
oh
him.
wow, there he is.
And then Sean's got him pulled up here.
Like,
So I mean, you can see the
big,
Return of the Jedi Luke and the Sarlacc pit in the background just absolutely dwarfed, and those are pretty big pieces. Obviously, those are 6-scale figures there, so definitely a very big piece indeed. But yeah, it would be awesome to see this again, and again see it with some sort of limited articulation, maybe in the arms for sure. Stevie says hollow polystone, and yeah, the other thing is obviously the plastic version from Hot Toys would be a lot more durable. I've heard nightmares about polystone, which is why I don't buy statues. But yeah, 8-Bit says it'll be made like the Blurg. It'll be $590 or something for a DX. As long as the Blurg just a tad shorter, yeah, and the Blurg's a big piece, so definitely no slouch. You got to have the room for it for sure. One fat slug.
I think it would be 850.
850. You're going high. Okay. So we got 850, between 650 and 850 is basically what everybody's saying. Or excuse me, 590 and 850, because at the 590 from 8-Bit Flea. But yeah, Sean or Chris, before we move on, do you have any additional thoughts on the likelihood of seeing this duo here?
I don't think so.
I would just add on to Ryan as far as saying, like, because people have been leading the breadcrumbs with the sail barges. That was the same thought I had. If they're going to be going this trail, they might, for their releases, just end up doing like a Skiff Guard Lando, a Bouche Leia,
Yeah.
I don't know if they would do a Han from that, but then it would lead to, why not have a job, just everybody that was included in that scene.
Yeah, I agree. And 8-Bit Flea, wouldn't you love to know if I have Boba on the list? I guess you'll have to wait and see. Like I said, there's some juicy stuff on this list, but maybe he's on there, maybe he's not. You never know. Sean, did you have any additional thoughts on Jabba or Bib Fortuna before we move on? Because we got quite a bit more on the list. So
I'm going to put the business hat on here. For the 40th, no. I don't see this happening. Because they've never really... The first time they did an anniversary for Star Wars, it was the 40th for Empire Strikes Back. And that was the test for Return of the Jedi. So now they're going to test the waters for other things. I don't think they're going to go into a big character like this for size wise. They may look at it and assess if they want to do it for the 45th or the 50th anniversary. I don't see it happening this year.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like I said, it's about a 35% for me. Maybe I could push it to a 40, but it is a big undertaking, and it's obviously a very large figure. So the Jabba especially, it's really hard to say, man. I agree with Ryan. Like Ryan said earlier, it's a hard call to make. But yeah, so we're going to move on, guys, to our next character. And this one was mentioned earlier. We have a Gamorrean Guard, guys. And this is another one. Obviously, the old Sideshow version actually does hold up pretty well. And that's actually a very expensive figure right now. So I would love to see Hot Toys take a stab at it. I was very hopeful that we would at the very least get the skinny dieted versions of the Gamorrean guards from Book of Boba Fett, and I kind of grew attached to those characters, and I felt really bad for them when they met their demise. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. So here's our chance now to see another stab at a Gamorrean guard. I would very much like to see this. This is definitely up there on the list for me. This is another one. It's like very dependent, I think, on Jabba. We brought it up earlier, the whole sail barge theme. And this is one, obviously, that would be a completely new mold for Hot Toys. So if they're going to do this, they would have to do a completely new mold, a lot of R&D involved, fat suit, everything like that. So it's hard to say on this one for me. This is one that I would absolutely love to see, but I'm going to say not likely. I'll be honest with you. I just don't think it's likely. We talked about the 2.0s. We talked about the repacks. This one isn't part of that group. This is a whole new mold. So I'm going to say not likely on this one. Ryan, what are your thoughts on a Gamorrean guard?
I won't lie. I don't have much of an attachment. Excuse me. If I had to choose between like say this and Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper, I'll take a trooper. There's more versatility for that in my collection and the photography and stuff that I do with my my figures amongst just displaying them. Just my personal opinion. I'm not that invested in it. Even if they announced it, of all the figures, and I know I said that like Return of the Jedi, all of them would be grandfathered in. But I'm very confident that we probably won't get one of these. So that's why, but even if we did, it'd be like the bottom of the list that I'd be like, all right, maybe. Well, after I see everything, an Ewok would be below it. Just because. Oh, I just want to see that expression on your face. Yeah, there you go.
How dare you?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I actually want to see a Trooper Ewok 2-pack or a 3-pack. But
yeah, I like that idea. That was a cool idea.
Yeah, but no, I'm just not invested in this. Like, especially like if I saw this at like 2 something or whatever it is, and then there's another one. Like, there's more figures that are more priority for me. Let's put it that way. But also, like, once again, I would unfortunately put this in that one pile of just I don't see it happening. Just don't. Yeah, I just don't.
I agree.
But kudos to those who would get this. I think it would display awesome. I think it'd be a great piece. It's just, like I said, you got to curate your collection your own way and see what fits. So I'd be open to getting it, but it wouldn't be like the first one I would need to get right away. So
yeah, that's fair. And Matt says, I just think these guys are too big to be cost effective for them to make. Too many other options for them to make right now. And yeah, on the list of easy from to hard to make again, this one's an entirely new mold, a lot of mixed media. It's hard to say, guys. It really is. I think this was more likely not to happen, and I hate to say it because I would love to see this. This, for me, would be high on my list. Jabba or no Jabba, I'd love to see it. You could put it with Luke Skywalker and having him fighting it out with them. I would love to see it. But
hey, but one thing though is Sideshow. When these went up for pre-order from Sideshow, they sold out very quickly, like within like a couple months.
Yeah, they certainly did.
So they weren't even released yet. They were still in pre-order status, and they sold out.
Yeah, and obviously that was a different time, and also it's like we got to think of it in terms of, okay, like Ryan said, we're looking at, let's use Attack of the Clones as a guiding line here. We got 9 from that. So let's say we get 9. Let's say they match Attack of the Clones. Do you see this being part of that 9 when you have Stormtroopers, you have Darth Vader and C-3PO already announced, and R2-D2 very possibly on the horizon, Luke Skywalker, you know what I mean? It's like you have all of those, and it's like, I got to take my fan side out of it and think about realistically what they may do.
Right. So if we're going to go with the rule of 9, I say we're going to get 5 reissues where we already got 2, and then we'll get 2 more.
Which was very much true for Attack of the Clones, right? We got some new head sculpt figures, and I think there's about 5 new molds for Attack of the Clones. We got the 2 droids, then we got the 3 sculpted figures, and the rest were like, they had the base already. They had to make some tweaks, obviously, for the clone pilot and stuff, but not that many new molded figures. So yeah, I would agree with that, Sean, for sure. But it does seem like a lot of people are very interested in the Gamorrean guards, and that just shows it's kind of a fan favorite, popular. You know?
Yeah,
for sure.
Let me also just say this too. We keep talking about like these head sculpted people or whatever. We also talk about these troopers. I'm ready to have like those creatures, some diversity from the Star Wars universe, like an Ackbar, like a Gamorrean Guard,
I agree.
like what's Jar Jar Binks' species, like different that we see around the Gungans. Figured it out, had a brain fart there, but just different species I would love to have to add some diversity in my display. Now, when Ryan said he would take the trooper, I would too. I would take a trooper, but I would also get this. I wouldn't double up on a trooper. I would have, so I have those diverse properties, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And Michael Anton, the comment there, he took it right out of my mouth. Like, if we remember the 1 year, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, with the grievous mistake of the 2.0. Yeah, there were May 4th releases, but Sideshow kind of took the thunder when they were like, hey, we're doing a grievous 2.0 with better joints. They could easily redo one of their figures. I would love to see that, and I would pick one up, one of those if I had to, if Hot Toys wasn't doing it, if I'm being honest. So
I agree.
would definitely be into this. I would love to see this, and if it was in the list of 9, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like obviously Sideshow and Hot Toys have a very good relationship. So part of me feels like, I hate to say it, but at least for right now, they're gonna back off from anything Return of the Jedi, because Hot Toys, one of their big breadwinners, is selling Hot Toys. So I think they're gonna back off a little bit on the Return of the Jedi stuff. But that doesn't mean that maybe eventually Sideshow doesn't go back and say, you know what? A lot of people liked those alien figures we were doing. They really liked that Gamorrean Guard that we did. They really liked all those different mismatched alien and creature figures you did. There's nothing to say that they want to go back later and take a look at it.
I mean, they did it with their Maul. They did it with their Luke.
Yeah.
They did it with their Vader a bunch of times. So
yeah, so maybe for now they'll back off, but in the future they'll reassess and say, hey, people are asking for this again, and I'd love to see it. 8-Bit Flea says, I don't know how we didn't get these from Book of Boba Fett. And yeah, I was really excited to get those from Book of Boba Fett. I was like, this looks a lot easier than the thick ones, as people in the chat are calling them. They're skinnier, they have less going on. I thought it was possible, but unfortunately we didn't see it. And Beskar was saying if they do this, maybe we can get the 2-pack Gamorrean set from Book of Boba Fett. I'd be all for it, dude. I fell in love with those guys. I felt so bad for them when they got pushed off that cliff. I'm like, man, how you going to do them dirty like that?
Wow, spoiler alert.
Yeah, hey, if you haven't seen Book of Boba Fett, I'm so sorry for that spoiler. Rusty Bronco says, Chewie with a bag of detonators. Don't you worry. You think we're going to leave out Chewbacca? Of course not. We're not going to leave out Chewbacca. We're going to talk about him. Did anyone else have any additional thoughts on the Gamorrean Guard before we move on? Again, we got a nice list here, so I kind of want to move on to the next one. But yes, guys, the next one is another combined one, because I felt like they went hand in hand. Guys, we have Leia, the Boosh disguise, of course, and Skiff Guard Lando. You see them here in all their glory right next to each other. I've said this many times, guys, regarding the Boosh disguise Leia. I've got a lot of stake in this one. This one, to me, is like, if they're going to do a new mold, this one makes the most sense to me. I just got to be honest with you. They love putting out Leias. We've seen many Leias. There's been a lot of Leias. And I just think that this one makes a lot of sense, It is a unique mold. However, it's not a very complicated outfit. Apart from the sculpted helmet, it's not very complicated. So this one, guys, I'm going to put a lot of stake in particularly the Boosh Leia. I do think if we do get a Leia from Return of the Jedi, it's going to be this one. And of course, some people could argue maybe the end scene Leia with the dress and everything. And that's also possible. That's also a very simple design as well. But I feel like Hot Toys may have their eye on this one. I feel like they're looking at this one and they're like, hey, this isn't too bad. This won't be too difficult. And when I see the material of her outfit, I see the Nightmare Batman trench coat. I'm like, I could see them using a similar material for this. So this one makes a lot of sense to me. They know that fans want it. Across the board, this is one that keeps popping up on people's lists. And if you don't think that Hot Toys is watching what we're saying, they certainly are. And this one's probably one of the ones that they're like, okay, maybe we could do this. So I'm certainly going to put stake in that one. In terms of the Lando, is it completely out of the question? No, it's not. They could just modify their existing Lando sculpt, slightly change it, and throw it in, and do a Skiff Guard Lando. Hell, we see them together here. Could they do a 2-pack? I mean, I know it's hard to say because the 2-packs have been so scarce when we really think there's going to be a 2-pack. But I don't think that's out of the question either. I would personally put more stake in the Bouche Disguise Leia over the Skiff Guard Lando, but I think Lando is certainly in the realm of possibility. Chris, I'm gonna go right to you since you had a. Go ahead.
I'm kidding. I was a
I was
joke.
going to say if you had something pressing, but I wanted to go to Chris because Chris, this is one that he's mentioned many times. I know you looked at the sideshow one and you're like, I thought about it, but
Yeah, I keep eyeing it, so it's still on my plate if Hot Toys doesn't do it. But that Return of the Jedi, man, I just have high hopes for it, and I'm just really hoping they don't disappoint. So I would definitely take in these two into the collection. Actually, second that, definitely Skiff. Leia, I have the 2-pack of Wicket, and I kind of like seeing her sculpt. I don't know if I'd want to cover it up because they'd probably have it like this. Now, if they did a Han Solo and then the Carbonite, like I know Sideshow did the Carbonite as well. So if they did that, then to complete that scene, I would probably have to pick her up. But I would like to see her for other collectors, for sure.
And it would be nice to see this sculpt, right? Because her hair is obviously a little bit different. She's got that helmet hair when she just took off the helmet, but Carrie Fisher looks beautiful here. I would love to
Powerful
see a sculpt.
scene too.
Very powerful. And again, I bring it up many times. When I was a kid, first time seeing Return of the Jedi, it didn't click in my brain at first that this was Leia. It didn't, because obviously she's got a different voice when she's wearing the helmet. So it's a fond memory for me when I first watched Return of the Jedi, and I would love to see both of these guys. I've personally been waiting to see if Hot Toys is going to do the Skiff Guard Lando, and I know you have as well because you've been so close to pulling that trigger on the Sideshow one. So I think, Chris, we're on the same page here. I think this one is certainly in the realm of possibility, and it seems like a lot of people in the chat have some faith in this Bouche Leia especially. And again, it's one that keeps popping up. This Bouche Leia, a lot of people are really hoping to see this one, and I'm right there with you guys. And obviously, we're really taking the slave Leia out of the equation, guys. I'm sorry. I don't mean to burst your bubble, but that ain't happening. It's not happening. So we're not going to talk about the slave Leia. We're going to talk about the realm of possibility,
It is crazy. The more you talk about this stuff, you really realize how much Sideshow did do over their time, like how many figures, because they did hurt. So, like,
that's an old figure, too. It's a very old figure, but they put in the work. Sideshow did a lot of cool stuff.
Creatures, figure, like, it didn't matter. Background stuff, like.
Yeah. And Michael brings up a good point. If maybe we never saw that Han, maybe we'll see Chewie go with this Leia. You never know.
That would be cool, too.
Yeah, and Sean, what are your thoughts on the possibility of a Leia Bouche Disguise or a Skiff Guard Lando, or both?
So for Leia, I would say yes. For Lando, I'm not certain. I think the demand is there for Hot Toys to make it. I think you could still get this one from Lando, though, for a Sideshow on their website, or is that sold out?
That's a good question. I haven't checked in a while. I think it's sold out, but I could be wrong. If someone in the chat knows off the top of their head, feel free to call it out.
Because if it's sold out, I think we have a really good chance. I don't think Hot Toys wants to cause any friction with
step on their toes,
with their distributor here in America. However, I think this is a good idea that it could be a good 2-pack. Even if there's still stock for Lando from Empire Strikes Back, and the only way you could get Leia Bosch is with the Skiff Guard Lando, I think it would be perfect.
I agree. I'd pull the trigger.
Would take a lot of money off of it.
Oh yeah. Because again, Sean, I keep seeing this one pop up when everybody's like, here's my top 5. This is what I want. Bouche is on in most of those lists, and for good reason. It's a great design. It's a classic design. It's part of a great, memorable scene. So I'd love to see it. I really would. And I'm so glad to see. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I would love this Lando because it's awesome.
Yeah. And the Sideshow one wasn't terrible. The sculpt was definitely not the best. But to be fair, you obviously can cover up with the helmet, and it kind of hides their crimes there. But I think if Hot Toys took a stab at this Lando, they'd knock it out of the park. And I'd love to see a 2-pack. Like, obviously, again, 2-packs are pretty scarce now, but you never know. You never know. That the one that you don't expect might be the one that they pull out of their hat, And thank you, OG, for checking on that. He said Skiff Lando is marked as waitlist open, so he is gone. Yomo just popping in. Yomo, great to see you as always. I hope you're doing well. Castro says, do you think Hot Toys will ever do a Han and Carbonite like the SS one? I will say that one is not on this list, if that answers your question. That one is not on our list. So I didn't include it because there's a more important version of Han that we want to talk about. But that one is not on this list. So I guess that'll answer your question. Did anyone else have any additional thoughts before we move on to the next character? I know, Ryan, you didn't get to say too much. Do you have any additional thoughts on Abush, Leia, or Lando, or both?
No, nothing. I mean, no, nothing more than what anyone said in terms of my popularity of wanting them. I just think with Leia, it makes sense because they've already done the Endor version of her, so it's like, why not do probably the most like one of the more important versions, as you said, the slave Leia. You know, take that out. That's a non-factor.
Galaxy far, far away. For
if you remove that, that's in a that's in another galaxy far, far away.
Secure in mine, pal.
What's that?
Said I'm secure in mine, pal.
Yeah, well, if you remove that version of her, and they already did the Andor one, the celebration one they had when she has her long hair. I don't think this is more of an important version of her for the story and her character. You know, overall, that it'd be a real miss if they didn't do it. Lando, I'm 50-50 on. I wouldn't mind if they did him. I wouldn't mind if they didn't do him. Once again, it goes back to my theory of following the breadcrumbs. Are they going to go all in on the Jabba palace first act of the whole movie, or are they just going to go random with stuff? So that's where I'm interested, is where are they going?
Yeah, I agree. And they may stick to a theme. They may not. We never know.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, guys, though, I just have one thing to say. It's a trap. Admiral Ackbar, guys. This is another one that keeps coming up. I keep seeing it. And I'm like, I'm so glad that other people have stake in this character, because this is another one. It's a sin that we don't have him in our collection. So when we talk about creature characters, right? I think this goes in that realm. We had that question earlier, and I didn't want to spoil all of our creatures, so I kept this one out. But I don't know, guys. I don't know. I mean, again, this is going to be one of those figures that is a completely new mold. However, I don't see this one completely out of the realm of possibility. And of course, with a lot of this stuff, guys, I also look at what we're seeing from the Star Wars 6-inch Black Series line, and what we're seeing from the Vintage Collection line. And Ackbar, right? Ackbar has one that's been released, for both of those lines. So that tells me that this is not completely out of the realm of possibility. I would say, again, for this one, 35%. I could put a stake in that. Is it one that I see high up on their list? No. But because this is being merchandised significantly for the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi in other lines, I certainly don't see it out of the realm of possibility. And I'll just leave it at this. I would absolutely love to see it. He's going to have his baton, of course, with him. That's a must. The interesting thing with this one is swap out hands, right? I feel like they certainly could do it. What they would probably have to do is that sleeve would have to be like attached to the arm, so it doesn't like kind of get in the way when you repeg on a new set of hands. I will say, though, because his hands are the way they are, if they do swap out hands, it would probably be a bit pricier, because that's a more substantial piece of plastic for a swap out hand. But I would love to see this one. And hell, if they even gave us a chair for him to swivel in, that would be really cool. Tarkin came with the chair, so that's, of course, not out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, I'd love to see an Ackbar. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the possibility of an Admiral Ackbar?
Unfortunately, not happening. I'm putting it in that bucket of not going to happen. I think there's more priority things. The problem is, the problem with Star Wars in general, when you look at these movies, it's a fine balance, and it's just I'm sorry, it's just the reality. You have to take care of the main characters, because that's what's going to sell.
Yep.
The
You're
Luke.
a downer, sir.
What I know, I'm sorry, but the 3PO, the Darth Vader, the Luke, the R2D2, those ones they're almost guaranteed to sell, because no matter how diverse you are or not in Star Wars, those main characters. So once again, it goes back to, if you're sticking with that 9 to 10 threshold just as a baseline, I just don't see much room in these kind of characters making their way through. Maybe as like summer showcases or pop-up store exclusives or something like that. But I mean, yeah, I see a stormtrooper being made over this just because you can army build a stormtrooper and spend more money on that. That is just what the reality is. So I am unfortunately taking the fanboy out of it and saying, like, the business side of it, I don't see it happening. Would love to see it, because that translated into even sitting in the chair, maybe as a diorama, like sitting in the chair, his chair there. That would be really awesome to have that presence as a piece, because there's some figures that you just would love to see what it looks like in
Dude,
6
like,
scale.
yeah, and this is one of them, right? And like
Especially
Tarkin,
there's such a lack in Star Wars, in my opinion, of Imperials, Rebels, droids, and like creatures. There is a lack of diversity and that kind of stuff, and so I would love to see more, but they have to balance what the average consumer would buy, and that's what kind of stinks about it for us diehard fans that want kind of like the deep cuts of figures, is that it's just hard to see them being made, unfortunately.
I agree. And it seems like a lot of people kind of agree in that regard. Like I said, for me, guys, it's about a 35%. Ryan's like, I just don't see it. And it's unfortunate, because this is one that we would love to see. It's a beloved character. It's one of those characters that's often forgotten. But again, I don't see it as impossible. I just see it as unlikely. Again, we have them in the Black Series and Vintage Collection line for the 40th anniversary. So they have an interest in it in some scales, but I just don't quite see this being a priority in a 6 scale. And if you didn't know already, it's a Frappuccino. Of course, Oilers always hitting us with the awesome puns there. Love to see it. I hope you're doing well, by the way, Jordan. It's great to see you. And 8-Bit agrees he would have to come with a chair, right? If you don't give him the command chair, I mean, you're kind of disrespecting the character. So like I said, in a perfect world, and guys, we got 66 in the chat right now. Perfect for a Star Wars discussion. So execute Order 66 and drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, Chris. I should have just let you do it. But yes, execute Order 66, drop a like on this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, Matt says, what about a translucent Endor moon / Death Star? Matt, you got to stop, because then you're just giving me hope for a figure that I shouldn't have hope for. I would love to see it. We got Trevor in the chat, 1-6 shooter. It's great to see you, Trevor. Trevor says Sideshow could do Ackbar. And Trevor, it's interesting. We were actually talking about earlier, maybe eventually Sideshow will go back and do a Gamorrean Guard again. So maybe Ackbar is not really out of the realm of possibility for Sideshow to take a stab at. I said earlier, I do think they would take a seat. Sorry, what was that, Chris?
I was just kind of interrupting, being dumb, just saying.
No, go ahead.
Just talking at the same time, just agreeing. Like, they could come out with stuff too for May 4th.
That is true. I guess Rusty's a little behind, but he said this Leia introduced us all to thermal detonators. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. That's for sure. But yeah, Trevor, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Fad says Curveball is Max Rebo on your list. He was the only, he was also in the Book of Boba Fett, so he fit in that collection power pose with that keyboard. I'm sad to say Max Rebo is not on our list, because again, we are trying to think of stuff that is more likely, even though some of it is not as likely as some others, but Max Rebo is not on our list, unfortunately. And there are others, guys, that may be some obvious ones to you that we don't have on our list. So no disrespect to those characters. It's just we tried our best to put together a list of what we thought. Sean, before we move on to the next one, what are your thoughts on the possibility of our favorite Admiral Ackbar?
20%.
20%. That's fair. I think that's a very fair rating.
Because, they could reuse the mold multiple times for Rogue One.
Oh, yeah, Admiral Radis, yeah.
Yeah. Along with, what was it? There was one in Mal Calamari in The Force Awakens, along with Rise of Skywalker. I mean, there's including Mando. There's so many different areas where they could reuse that mold for the head sculpt and the hands and everything. But if they do come with it, it would be limited on how many sets of hands. Probably only 1 or 2 sets of hands. But that chair would definitely have to come with it.
I know, like that's what TK is saying here. It seems like everybody's agreeing about the chair. Like, he's got to have the chair, dude. Come on now. Oh, there you go, Princely Char from the Clone Wars. That's another one that, like, I do agree. If they were to do this, I agree with Sean. They could really reuse the heck out of this mold. Obviously, be slight differences in the skin texture, but how easy is that for Hot Toys to change?
It's just
didn't we just See Species 2 in Mando.
We've seen he's actually a sculptor. Always forget his last name, Frank something. He's a sculptor, an effects maker, and he was actually the one in the sweater. It was the Mon Calamari in the sweater. I forgot the character's name, but if someone can remind me what his name is in the chat, I know somebody knows. I think it's Frank something. He's a sculptor, a props guy, and they put him in the I think it was Mando. In the scene, I think he was in the scene where they arrived in the port with Frog Lady. I think that's where he was. I forgot the actual character's name though. But yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, Sean, on the 20%. I do think that's very fair. Again, another beloved character, just like Wedge Antilles, that just doesn't seem likely, at least right now. You know, it just doesn't seem likely with all the other options. But there is one that seems very likely to me that was actually brought up a few times, and I had to avoid it in the chat, so I apologize to you guys, but we're coming back to it, baby. Royal Guards, guys. You know, this one to me, guys, I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
This is a no-brainer. I have
two minimum.
I know.
100%.
Two minimum.
And we can have an open discussion because I feel like we're all going to agree on this one for the most part.
I need an Emperor first.
Chris,
one teases the other. If you get one or the other, I mean, I think if you get the Emperor, there's no guarantee you get these, but if they for some reason release this before the Emperor, you got to get the Emperor. It's got to get released.
Right, and you'd be very surprised about who we're going to talk about next. But we're going to talk about the Royal Guard first, guys.
Are we really surprised?
Well, we're not. We probably won't be surprised now, but yes, guys. I think we can agree across the board. This one's happening. Like this one just screams repack it and ship it to me. It's very simple.
Smack it on the box and get it out.
I know. Just smack a 40th Return of the Jedi label on it and get it out the door. You know, this is happening. I'm sorry, guys, for those that recently bought these, but I was an idiot, and I
to it now, pal.
Hold me to it because I'm putting a lot of stake in this one. And I was an idiot, and I passed on these. And to be fair, at the time, I had a reason for it. I have the Palpatine with the throne, and in the DTOF, it just looked way too cramped to me at the time.
Those DTOFs are killing it, man.
It just looked way too cramped to me at the time. So I was like, you know what, dude? I'm like, I can't do it. It's too cramped. I don't want to spend that money and be disappointed. And at the time, I was strictly stands only. Like, I only use stands. I love the look of the stands with the characters and everything. So I passed on them reluctantly. But to be fair, I see this happening again. It's too
Sean,
like,
do you have this?
Such a basic figure.
I did, but I don't anymore. But I would rebuy them.
This is a minimum 2. I would agree with that. Like, you're gonna minimum 2.
This should be a 2-pack, 100%. It makes no sense for me to buy one. I mean, for anyone. I mean, yes, if you can't financially do it, obviously to get one just to represent. But this is one of those where like you need to. You need to.
Yeah, and if Hot Toys didn't want the reissue brand for this either, what they could do is just, figure something else to come with it, rename it, or like Hasbro did some of their figures. I think it was a 6-inch line, the Black Series. Maybe it was a 3.75, where they had the switch out chest piece and the head piece for the trainers.
Yeah.
And everything else. Maybe they could do that to rebrand it, or just go through and just stick it with something else, give it a different background, like, the red lights in the background here in this picture from the elevator.
Bro, yeah, and I remember you brought that up, Sean. That's such a good idea, man. I would love to see like the elevator background. Holy crap, man.
So, and then that way nobody can claim it's a reissue because they've added something to it.
Yeah, I agree. And
Sean, I had a question though, if you don't mind, for Sean. When you said you had this, what was the material of the red cloak like? Was it like a loose, like very lightweight kind of, or was it like a stiff kind of fabric? What was the material?
It was a stiff fabric, kind of like the DX-19 cape.
Okay.
But underneath, and then on the top part, it was kind of a little bit, I don't want to say it's like silk, because it's not silk, but it was really soft.
Oh, we like silk.
On the
I see it draping
part.
like Dooku's cape kind of, but his cape is very thin, like very thin.
Yeah, this is thicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thicker than a sneaker.
Well
anyway,
said.
Moving on.
Public service announcement. Don't be a dingus and buy these guards. So yeah, don't be me and just sit there and say, you know what, they're not going to fit. I should have future-proofed it and bought them, but hey.
These DTOFs are now mine.
Yeah, now Chris has them, so he has to make up for that, my mistake, while owning some of those details, and he has to buy 2 of them.
No, I don't.
You do. Balls Deep in 1/6 scale says it's buy 2 or bust, like the OG Battle Droids, Dark Troopers. Yeah, with a lot of the figures like that, I think you're right. I think you got to buy 2. So this is one I would agree, guys. It's happening, and I'm gonna buy 2 of them. If it's not a 2-pack, I'm buying 2 1-packs. You know, I'm getting 2 of them. I'm very excited to check it out. And again, Matt talked about it many times in the chat. Like, yeah, Chris is laughing it up, saying, "Of course you're getting 2." But
Nate will be like, "Well, I'm minimum by 4."
Right, Nate's like, "Yeah,
bro, he's gonna buy 2 2-pack.
She's gonna buy 3 2-packs.
Right, minimum, I'm gonna get 6.
Are you out of your damn mind? Of course, I'm getting 5.
Are you out of your damn mind?
Man, if I could get 22 and fit them around and have one for my cat, they would have it.
Well, guys, I mean, we're talking about Royal Guards, right? And then, of course, people in the chat have been jumping the gun the whole stream on this one, so I guess we got to get to it at some point, right? So you know who we're going to talk about, guys. I mean, come on now. We got to be talking about a companion
Daddy Palps.
piece. Right, we got to be talking about the companion piece for these figures, and of course, that's Emperor
Pull it up
Palpatine.
already.
This ain't happening.
So for this one, guys, I'm going to start by bursting a little bit of your bubble here. Though I do see the Royal Guards happening, I'm not 100% certain that we're going to get the throne again. And we're going to take a look at the Return of the Jedi Vader after this, the newly announced Return of the Jedi Vader, and we're going to show you why we may not get the throne again. But in terms of Emperor Palpatine, guys, I'm going to say, I'm going to go crazy and say 95% we're getting Emperor Palpatine again. I'm going to go that crazy. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to instill hope in the people. I'm going real high on Palpatine. It's just, after seeing the Vader teases and seeing some slight differences here and there, I'm like, with the route they're going, Emperor's Wrath Vader. Who is the Emperor's Wrath? It's Darth Vader, but who's the Emperor? Emperor Palpatine. So I'm putting a lot of stake in Emperor Palpatine. I certainly see another one coming out. Me personally, though, I know a lot of people really want the throne. Could it happen again? Sure. But looking at that packaging for the 40th anniversary, the packaging that came with this Palpatine originally, it's massive, guys. So one of the reasons I'm like, I don't see them doing a throne, one of the reasons, not the only reason, is the packaging. Like, they like to have that streamlined packaging. The throne is all one solid piece apart from that bottom disc portion that pops out, the base of it. I just don't see them fitting this throne in that streamlined packaging without it being massive and it kind of taking away from that look. Not only that, again, we're going to take a look at the photos again of Palpatine shown in the photos with Vader. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, them going with the throne version over them doing a completely new, like, USB-powered Emperor's Wrath companion piece with the electricity coming off from his hands and everything. I see them going a different route. Now, for me, if they, when they do another Palpatine, I should say, because that's how certain I am, what if they included that window behind Palpatine, that iconic window? Now, in the Vintage Collection line, they gave us a Palpatine on throne with the window behind him, so I don't think that's completely out of the question, them doing a window behind him. Chris, did you have an additional thought to share on that?
Yeah. You're saying about the packaging. Didn't they do Empire Vader?
But that base
In
is
the
way
packaging?
smaller, and and that Vader box.
Still, they changed the box.
But the original
didn't they?
box was way smaller as well. The Vader,
Yeah, but they still changed it.
but it's still way smaller though. Like the Empire
They
Strikes
can
Back Vader.
change it.
But it would be. But the thing is, if we're going off of their current style of packaging, where they've streamlined all of the clamshells, they've streamlined the box. This doesn't
Don't
make sense.
do this to the people out there.
Well, you got to set the
You
proper
do it.
expectations, right? That's my thought. My word is not law. However, that is my thought on it. Like they've purposely streamlined this packaging. Like Boba Fett, for example, the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. They actually made that clamshell smaller in order to fit it all in that streamlined packaging. So it's like, obviously that's not the only point that I have, though. We're going to talk about Emperor's Wrath Vader, though. But if we did get another throne, I'd be game for it because mine currently has like a flickering light on it. I guess just from being left on, something shorted out. So if I got a new one that was USB powered, that would kind of make me feel better about my flickering light on my throne. But 8-Bit Flea, the thing is like, I know it's a very obvious one, but again, it's like, if they're going with that route of Emperor's Wrath Vader, they may just focus on the Emperor particularly getting picked up by Vader and getting electrocuted. And they may take that and run with it and go like USB powered Palpatine to where you could see his hands flickering when he's being electrocuted. That's just my thought on it. Again, I don't think the throne is completely out of the realm of possibility, but again, we're talking about breadcrumbs and clues. And when I'm looking at the packaging style and what they're presenting us with the Vader, I'm like, I don't see the throne as likely as them giving us a completely new Palpatine with different features from the original. That's just my thought on it. I don't want to burst your guys' bubble, but of course, I'm always going to share my honest opinion when I'm looking at this stuff. That's my thought on it. But Ryan,
the throne could be sold separate.
and that's possible too. We haven't seen that yet with these anniversary lines in terms of them selling a separate piece. So of course, that'd be something they would introduce new. I know it was brought up earlier. We were talking about multiple SKUs, and it seems the thought of most people is they would do less SKUs and they wouldn't do multiple SKUs. So that's kind of along the same conversation. It's like, do we think they're going to do multiple SKUs? Well, it's possible. I mean, we got 2 SKUs with Vader, so that's certainly a good sign, the Vader Deluxe and the Standard. But I don't know. Again, I don't know. I just don't see it all being in one package. I don't. I think they're going to stick to a certain type of packaging. Oh, God. So the Empire Vader does have different packaging, but it's streamlined, right? And that throne is just way too deep for that. Like, bro, if they did the throne in that packaging, it would be such a tall box.
But even the clone is a different size from a, like, they have different sizes of these anniversary
The clone
ones.
doesn't come with a throne though. The box would have to be significantly bigger, dude. Like
It's
the way
still
they
larger
stack
than
those
some other
clamshells.
40.
But it's not wider though. I'm talking about the width of the
possible, bro.
packaging.
I think they could do it with it.
I think, Chris, you really want the throne, so you're saying that because you want the throne, but it's like, look at all of the other anniversary packaging.
I'm a box expert.
Yeah. Sorry I'm bursting your bubble on the throne, guys. But Sean, I want to hear your thoughts on it, since you kind of brought up maybe possibly them putting the throne in a separate box. What are your thoughts on the possibility of not only a new Emperor Palpatine, but what version of Palpatine could you see happening?
Okay, so my thoughts, more likely, I could see just the plain regular version that they had versus with the throne. I can see that coming out. If there's going to be a new design, I could see it to where, like, the lower arm pieces are detachable and they can light up with the lightning effect to match with Vader lighting up. So where somehow the hands are glowing for the lightning effect, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility too, and I know you're going to crap your pants when I say this, but they may design a brand new box for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi just to fit the throne in with the Emperor is a possibility.
Hey,
and there's also a possibility
I'm sticking to it. The box conspiracy is live and well.
Stick the box up your ass, Connor.
You know what, Chris? I'm sorry that you missed out on the first one, pal, but I'm the box expert here, okay? I'm the X-Files box analyzer. And I say no.
So,
I'm gonna hit you with an Aries, and I say no. But so Sean's saying that he thinks they could change the packaging. Chris is saying he thinks they could change the packaging. Ryan,
my priority though is that it would be individual. The old 2.0 reissue marked as 40th. It would just be no 2.0. It would just be the regular version with no throne. Is what they would throw at us.
Okay. But I am, again, we're going to take a look at the tease of Palpatine with Vader, but I do agree with the possibility of like a light up arm piece, maybe even USB power, because obviously it would be very easy to hide a USB plug underneath that thick robe that he has. So certainly, 8-Bit, I've been saying this for a while now, so I think if the pitchforks were coming, they've already been here. Beskar's hitting us with the Grogu. Yes.
I'm 3D printing a throne at this point if it doesn't happen.
Hey, guys, Matt doesn't agree with me very often on this stuff, so I got Matt on my side this time, so I don't know if that says something. But Ryan, where are you in this debate in terms of the version of Palpatine that we may see? What are your thoughts?
No throne. Because I feel like what they're doing is...
Look at him. Sorry, Ryan, but look at this. Look how angry he is. We have an angry collector here. Talk about collecting madness.
I think it's two reasons that has nothing to do with packaging. I think that they're setting up a different version, which I think goes into, if you took, I don't know if you have a photo of, I sent you one of mine, which I think they're going to do for another figure. I think that what they're going to focus on this time, and they kind of teased it with the Vader, is more of the end scene where it's the battle between Luke and Vader. And then, like, you know, when Palpatine's standing up electrocuting, I think that's more like the whole scenario that they're going with. They did the throne thing already, but I also think it's another reason that so that it won't devalue the original. Now, if it's just an updated Emperor without the throne, then it really doesn't devalue the old ones. So it's just like, you know, Bespin Luke.
Not at all.
That 2-pack doesn't really get devalued just because they made a new Bespin Luke. You can still buy that one, but it doesn't devalue the old 2-pack. Yeah, right.
You're saying I paid you off.
No, but I think it's
I believe it.
I think it just makes sense though. And then going back to what Sean said, I think that it's very possible you can see like a USB. It'd be awesome if you had USB like flickering hands to kind of like show him electrocuting. But like, I just think that they're more or less focusing on, and I'm going to say it, it depends on the Luke that I think we get, because I think that we can get a battle damaged Luke Skywalker from him being electrocuted and kind of fainted from the fight and kind of like worn out. If that's the case, then they're more or less going after that portion of the scene versus the confrontation where he sat in the throne the whole time. So I think I think they're going to do it without the throne, but for that reason, because they're focusing on this fight versus you know, the other aspect. They're just trying to do something different. At least that's what I would do if I was Hot Toys. I would just do something different, and you're not ticking off original collectors who have the throne. I personally would love it, because when I think of Palpatine, I think of him sitting on the throne with Luke Saber kind of sitting there taunting him. That is exactly what I think of. So I would love it with the throne, but I'm trying to take the fanboy out of it and be realistic of what I think we would get. And I think that's the version we would get. It's just the figure himself.
And I agree, Ryan, if we didn't have this context here of, and
this could be nothing too,
right? It could be nothing, but at the very least, we know that this is not the same lightning that came with the first Palpatine. He had the purple lightning. It was a different pattern of lightning spread. So we know that at the very least, whether they borrowed this lightning from another figure or maybe from the vault, something that they put together. Because we know that when we see the Palpatine sculpt, it's the same sculpt. We do know that. But that wouldn't surprise me either if they just reused the sculpt and kind of made it like a 1.5 with new features. But I agree with Misfit. If they are going to go this route with the lightning, that kind of seals the deal on the throne, especially if it's USB powered and everything. It's just going to stack up the cost.
I agree with Matt. I hope that we get more stairs where you can interconnect them all, like a continuation, because I would love it to have like Luke standing on the steps and like Vader like a couple steps down,
and Palpatine
with
at the very
clashing
top,
each other,
taunting them, you know?
Yeah, or something like that. Like I kind of like, it's hard for Hot Toys to do that. Like you can do it in a way where you're not committed in buying all 3 pieces, but if you did, here's the caveat. You know what I mean? You could build this nice staircase if you want, but if you only get 2 of the 3 figures, you're not out of luck. Like it's not forcing you have to keep buying pieces to build a diorama, but you can leave them standalone if you want to. So I like that idea.
I do too. And the next character, we might as well branch into the next character because it kind of goes along with what you were talking about.
Well, hold up.
Chris, if you mention the throne people, one more time, we're silencing the people. We had a debate about the throne for 5 minutes.
Right now, we have to have the throne. I'm speaking for those people, man. And also, I did want to point out, joking aside, you mentioned the blue lightning. I did tell you I was watching The Return of the Jedi the other day, and for some reason in the film, it could have been effects, could have been done purposely. I don't know. When he's Force Lightning Luke, it is purple. When Vader's getting Force Lightning, for some reason, it's blue.
Yeah, I mean, that could mean, like, maybe it's like the state of consciousness that he's in as he's possibly falling to his death. Maybe he's in a state of panic, and maybe that affects it. I don't know the lore behind that, or if maybe they just made a mistake there. I highly doubt that, but they probably would have fixed it in later versions. But, I feel like it has something to do with that.
Yeah, and Vader coming with those stairs, they're different. That's the scene where he's picking his lightsaber back up to go to the bottom to find Luke, because Luke's hiding. But
yeah, 8-bit, I'm going to counter that. 8-bit, I'm going to counter that. They released Bespin Luke without the weather vane, and that's arguably as equally as important, especially for me, that's one of my favorite moments in cinema history, and they didn't give us the weather vane for Luke again. So it's like,
There hasn't been a battle damage to Luke yet. What if they do that?
Did I not just say that?
yeah, but no, he's talking about. I think he's talking about Empire Strikes Back. That ship has sailed, dude. I mean, at least for now, until the next event for Empire Strikes Back. Like, I just think that they've left out obvious stuff plenty of times.
That was also quote unquote like DX compared to now this DX, what, 25, whatever.
But they're still charging $345 for the figure, you know? So it's like, they still could have included it. And DX has been watered down quite a bit. So it's like,
DX is dead.
My final point is they've left plenty of good stuff out, plenty of obvious stuff out with figures.
The reissue of Vader, its 40th, still got the whole scene connecting there where he's over the railing.
Right, and that was a direct reissue. And again, when we're looking at this Palpatine...
Okay, so direct reissue 2.0.
But the signs that we have right now, again, we're going off of the photos we see. That's not what
How
we're
to never
seeing.
drop a subject by Chris.
Yeah, Chris, look. I hope we get the throne. If we get the throne...
These people, pal.
I think you're fighting for yourself. I would love to see another throne. I would love to see it, but I got to be realistic. Again, my throne is flickering on the one light, so that's enough reason for me right there to buy another one because I'm mad that mine's flickering. But at the same time, it's like I'm using the context clues that I have. Again, my word is not law. Your word is not law. We don't know what's going to happen, but of course, these are predictions for that
Chris's
reason.
word. I trust Chris's words over Connor over here.
Okay. That's well, Ryan, you agree with me, so
You know, I've heard that at Chris's house, there's no dirty dishes in the sink.
thank you, man.
You're
See, look,
absolutely right, pal.
thank you, Matt, for holding it down. Hey, to be fair, OG, I hate to bring up the sequel trilogy, but he didn't really sit on that whack little throne he had in the sequel trilogy, and he zapped an entire fleet out of the sky. So
We couldn't. He came on some machine, but I'm pretty sure he sat
oh,
down at some
TK,
point.
you're killing me, bro. I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that. That again,
I
for
wouldn't.
me,
The
of course
scene
you wouldn't.
before
Right,
he went on the weather vane is pretty important.
but also him escaping with his hand missing. Yeah, see, Chris,
Get out of here.
Chris, you're just so mad that you don't have that Vader, so you're bringing your personal opinion into it. Luke Skywalker, guys, we're moving on to Luke Skywalker. Chris, if
I'm
you say
getting
one more
Return
thing
of the
about
Jedi,
the throne,
Vader. That's the
I'm
whole point.
cursing
Return
you.
of the Jedi.
I'm cursing you if you say one more thing. But yes, guys, Luke Skywalker, moving on to Luke Skywalker. This is obviously the Luke Skywalker Deluxe, but this is the most recent Return of the Jedi release we have seen for Luke Skywalker. So I wanted to bring this one up just to kind of remind you guys what we have seen in the past for Luke Skywalker. As of right now, most people would consider this the ultimate Return of the Jedi Luke, just because of the amount of stuff he includes. Obviously, you have the standard all black with the little white triangle look. You have the deleted scene goggles and poncho Sandstorm look. You have the Endor poncho and the Endor helmet. So many different display options. Not only that, you have the clean hilt and the battle damaged hilt with like the black scarring and scratches all over it. So most people would consider this the ultimate Return of the Jedi Luke thus far. Also, of course, this one has that beautiful windswept hair that everybody really is searching for, whether they have this version or not, because of course you can swap those hair pieces back and forth. So with this one, Ryan kind of mentioned this earlier, right? Are they going with a theme with this one? It's hard to say. Like if they go all Jabba's palace look or Jabba's sail barge look, I could see them maybe doing a figure that pertains to the Jabba's sail barge. Or maybe they'll go Rancor pit Luke again and give us the Luke with the brown cloak. They'll give us maybe the Rancor bone that he defended himself with. There's a lot of different routes they can go with this one. I wouldn't be too upset if they just repacked this Luke because it's such a fantastic set. And again, he comes with all these different options for display. I would take another one of these and then throw my second one in the Endor poncho look to go with my Endor Leia. So I could certainly see them repacking this one. Me personally, I would love to see an updated Luke that includes that brown cloak, especially if we're going to be getting Bouche Leia and possibly that Lando, the Skiff Guard Lando. That would just be a great piece to go along with them. So that's my thought on it. What I want is the Jabba's Palace look. But again, another thing we could go with, even with this figure, let's say they gave us this deluxe version, you could still use this with that white triangle exposed as a figure to go with Vader. for that iconic scene where they're fighting on the stair steps. And like we mentioned, I could certainly see them giving us a stair base. It's a companion piece with the one that comes with Vader, and they kind of all connect. And I think that would be a really smart idea on their part to kind of intertwine all of these figures to kind of encourage the collector to buy all three. So I could see them going that route as well, but I would not be completely upset if they just reissued this one. But I'm agreeing with Ryan. I would also love to see them kind of take a stab at maybe a battle damage look. There's really so many possibilities, but I think we can all agree that at the end of the day, we are going to get a Luke. There's no question about that. I think that's 100% in my opinion. Luke is the hero of the story. I've seen many people saying they're not going to do a Luke Skywalker, and I can't agree with that. I think this is a very obvious one. They're not going to do a Return of the Jedi line of 40th figures without doing a Luke. You can see it right now. A lot of people are selling off their Lukes. A lot of people are very aware that they're going to do a Luke Skywalker. So you're seeing a lot of people selling off those especially the older two Lukes for very cheap. Ryan, what are your thoughts on a new Luke Skywalker? And I know you mentioned the battle damage Luke. What would you like to see with that battle damage Luke?
I mean, it's really hard to say because I'm looking at photos. I mean, when you look at the battle damage at the end of the movie, I mean, he's getting hit with blue electricity. His bib, if you want to call it, is flapped open, and he looks very dingy. His outfit has a lot of white spots and kind of like dust and debris on it and stuff. So it's not like he's beat up or bloody. So I don't even know how much battle damage they could really do. But yeah, like you said, for anybody who even thinks that you're not going to get Luke Skywalker, that's like them saying that they're going to do an Iron Man figure but not give you Iron Man. They're going to give you everybody else but him. It's like, wait, what? That makes no sense. He's literally the movie. I mean, he is the main. It is him. Without the movie, there's not. It's not Star Wars. I'm sorry, without him in it. So for anybody, it's just oh, another one. Well, the same people that say that probably have 16 Iron Man figures on their display. So it's really not fair to kind of make that comparison. So we're gonna get it. I also think that at this point in time, you have new collectors that are coming into the community, and you look at what options that they have posed to them at this moment. When it comes to Luke Skywalker, you don't have a definitive Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. And what I mean by that is, for a new collector, even like myself, I've been collecting since 2020, and the only Lukes that I've had available to me to get is Bespin Luke. I'm sorry, the Bespin Luke on pre-order, the Snowspeeder Luke, which I own, Mando Luke, which isn't out yet, and I know people are using Mando Luke kind of as their Return of the Jedi representation, as kind of like a temporary, because it is similar with the cloak and everything, but at the end of the day, that sculpt is not Return of the Jedi. That's the the CGI version. Boba Fettuccine, Chris put the jinx on that. He put the hex on that 100%.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I mean, it's safe.
He made some calls while he was off. He was in the
saw your comments about the throne, dude. You got to
exactly.
But yeah, it's. I think you have to look at it. People have to look at it from that standpoint, as there's collectors that don't have a Return of the Jedi representation. So this is and it's always a safe figure to get. Yeah, like 8-bit. He's always a good bet.
There's been many Lukes, right? Even from the sequel trilogy. We saw 3 from the sequel trilogy.
For me, the Bespin Luke that is on pre-order, that is my definitive Luke Skywalker. If I close my eyes and think of Luke Skywalker, that is my definitive one. That version on him training with Yoda, that is my version of Luke Skywalker. Even him fighting Vader. But I do love the Return of the Jedi because it's such a contrasting look compared to Empire. But they're going to get it, and no matter which version I would love a cloaked version, because that's a very classic look when he entered Jabba's palace. But I really don't see it being a problem of them doing giving you just a bunch of different looks.
Yeah, maybe a new deluxe Luke. Maybe they won't reissue this one. Maybe they'll give us a new one. And like Matt said, USB lightsaber. Obviously, that's obvious.
I mean, someone brought it up last night on. I will admit, I was on Aries last night. Someone brought up, what if you do a Luke on speeder bike?
That I see happening.
That's not my idea. No credit to me. I do forget. Someone said it on Aries last night. I forget who it was. If it was Leal or Brother Cousins or somebody said, what if you have him on the speeder bike? It's just another way of repackaging the speeder bike. It's just a different way of doing it. I can totally see them doing that 100%.
But Connor won't see the big package.
Well, Chris,
that's right. It doesn't fit within the package rules. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. The package rules.
Look, Chris, I have a question for you, and we got it posed in the chat. Will this Luke come with the Emperor's throne?
100%.
Okay. See, I just wanted to make sure that he's gone.
What if
completely
this
nuts.
Luke comes with the
That's
broken
inferred.
end of the speeder bike that when he sliced it with his lightsaber?
That would be cool.
There's
Kind of
no
like,
point.
well, I mean, it's kind of like the battle droid pieces, right? They're all cut up pieces of
Yeah.
battle droids. That'd
When
be
he
cool.
sliced the end of the speeder bike off.
That would be cool. I could
What
see that
if-
as a possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
What
Mando
if
did come with
the
a
rest of
handlebar.
the 40th anniversary all came with pieces that put the throne together?
Yeah,
Now
maybe they'll
we're
do it. They'll like,
talking.
I'll build a throne. Maybe they'll do
Yeah.
something like that. Don't
And then
give them any
puts
ideas,
his,
Sean.
and then when Connor puts his together, it falls apart
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
as
'cause Chris
karma.
Chris is gonna kick my box around.
Or like you start getting it together with the 40th, and then there's like 3 pieces missing, and Hot Toys said, yes, you got to wait till the 45th anniversary to complete the throne.
Or-
Yeah, let's do a 2-pack with Vader's burnt body.
That would be cool. I'll take a burnt body. Luke with the torch and Stormtrooper helmet drum set. Hey, we already got our drum set, dude. Come on, Wicket came with that. But does anybody have any additional thoughts with Luke? Like I said, we have a few more to get through, so I don't want to spend too much time. Luke Skywalker is obviously a very obvious one for most of us, so I don't want
It's
to.
coming. That's
So-
all I have to say. It's coming.
That's fair. I would agree with you. Now, the next one, guys, that is not completely impossible, but certainly not likely, in my opinion, is our boy Nien Nunb here. Now, I will say, going along with the other merchandising we've seen from the smaller scales, we have seen Nien Nunb pop up recently with the Vintage Collection line for pre-order. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come in 6 scale, but I will say with this one, I would love to see it. I'm not going to spend much time on this. This isn't like a beloved character for me. It is a classic, but I don't think this is going to happen. I would probably put like a 10% on this one. It's not very likely. It's not on the top of our list. And if we're, again, limiting ourselves to that 9 threshold just for conversation's sake, this isn't in that 9. So I'm going to say no on this one. What about you, Ryan?
Not having it all. No way.
Yeah.
Typical downers. 2 of you.
What do you want me to say? Oh yes, they're
Oh,
gonna.
no,
make
this one's going to come with a
100%.
throne, Chris. I'm so sorry. This one's going to
Oh.
come.
This is going to come with the cockpit chair from the Falcon and the Emperor's throne.
Now we're talking, Sean. I knew there was a reason you were in here. And you know what? This Return of the Jedi, it's like you guys aren't even Star Wars fans.
Man, Chris is just so hurt tonight, man.
My heart's breaking.
It's all right, Chris.
I
We
know.
might
Every
disappoint
time I
you
see those
sometime.
detoffs, I think about an earthquake, and now, oh,
It's a
you're
good thing
just,
I live
you're
in
just
Maryland.
screwed, dude. I'm just like, man, poor Chris. And then I'm gonna have to do the "I told you so."
Yeah. So Matt's saying next. So yeah, to summarize it, guys, this one's not very likely. I think we can all agree
we can
with
move
that.
on.
Yeah, I think we can move on from
15
this
to
one.
20%.
Yeah,
I
very
like
low
it.
percentage.
I welcome it that you can move on.
I agree.
Okay,
And
because it
Trevor,
could be reused.
I agree. Trevor says Rancor pit Luke with the bone he sticks in his mouth. And yeah, I would love to see that, dude. Like I said, I agree with Ryan. Like a new deluxe set with a little bit of everything. I'm game for that. I'm totally game for that. But what I'm definitely game for, and what's certainly going to happen is Boba Fett.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I
now
will
you
say,
want this?
Chris, Chris, to make you feel better, I do think that this Sarlacc pit could fit in that packaging. It very well could.
God.
Here we go.
And the reason I say that is because the tentacles come disconnected in the packaging and they're just slotted in. So when we're talking about the packaging discussion, this one absolutely could fit in that packaging.
did
See,
say
I'm trying to make Chris feel better about himself, but now I'm about to stop. But I will say I do have an alternate suggestion for another possibility for a Return of the Jedi Boba Fett. I would love to see, that quarter scale base we got that kind of has that plank on it, kind of reminiscing to that skiff that they were fighting on before Luke got tossed in the Sarlacc pit. I could see them also including a base like that, like kind of the edge of the skiff. I think that would be really cool. And maybe they'll focus this time on the battle damage Boba Fett with the EE3 blaster cut in half and then the damage to the jetpack from Han Solo. That's really what I see for this Boba Fett. Now, it could be like an ultimate Boba Fett release with the Sarlacc pit and that stuff. That would be incredible. Because, if they did do another Sarlacc pit, what I would do is I would take the second Sarlacc pit and put it with one of my Mando or Book of Boba Fett Bobas. I would throw them in with that because that would be really cool.
I don't know if you just said it because I kind of spaced out. If, if they did for Luke, because I was like, what else could he come with? The sail barge scene, like the diving board or whatever it's called, like as part of the base that he could stand on.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That would be amazing, right?
That's the part you zoned out on it, Chris.
And
Okay.
and to this figure's credit, Vader came with 2 bases, right? We have with that the deluxe with that really cool USB base, and then you have the stair base. So what's not to say they couldn't do that with this one? I think they certainly could, and I think that would be really cool. And I think most people would be game for that. I really do. I could see one SKU, them just doing a double base release with this one. And I'd be game for it. Like I said, I would take that Sarlacc pit and use one of my Mando and/or Book of Boba Fett Bobas and make something happen with that to recreate that Sarlacc scene from that. So that'd be really cool. Yeah, Chris was asleep on that one. But yeah, for me, ideally for this Boba Fett, it's all right, Chris. We've moved on from the throne. We're on to better days. We're talking about Boba Fett, dude. A lot of people seem to agree with the skiff base. I think that's an obvious choice for a lot of us, right? Especially when we look at that quarter scale Boba Fett. I'm like, dude, if you give us a base similar to that with the plank, how cool would that be? I'd be all for that. And again, the cut in half EE3 blaster rifle, the damaged jetpack, that's a must because this one did not come with that stuff, obviously. You could see him here flying above the Sarlacc base with all of that stuff completely intact. So obviously it's not accurate, but it's their way of kind of give us a fun nod to the Sarlacc pit, but giving us a complete Boba Fett at the same time. And I agree, 8-Bit, when you're collecting every Boba Fett in 6 scale like we do, and like OG fan does, it would be nice to see something different. And I wouldn't be mad if they gave us a Sarlacc base again. I wouldn't, because again, I have a use for it personally. But Ryan, do you have any additional thoughts on what we could see with this Boba Fett, or do you agree with our thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, this is kind of more of an open discussion thing for me, where I'm very simple, where I would get it 100%. You know, I'm all in on Boba. You know, so yeah. I get as many as I can. I missed out on a few, so I've been getting as many as every time they pop up, I'm getting one. So this is like a day one for me. I saw this. If I saw this thing come up, I'd grab this thing in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even care what it was.
Me too. And as many Boba Fetts as I have, you know, I'm a Boba Fett fiend. You can't have enough Boba Fett. So this is just another one to the collection. I'm like General Grievous collecting the lightsabers, but it's Boba Fett figures. It's in my cloak. So I'd be grabbing this one day one as well. Chris, what are your thoughts? Anything additional that you could think of for this Boba Fett?
It's okay. They're doing your dad dirty over here.
Oh, man. Now he's talking to his cat. He's lost his mind, guys. He's lost his mind.
Nah, I definitely welcome this. I don't actually have a Boba Fett for this reason. I've been waiting. Didn't want to dive in the market. Didn't want to buy the 40th when it was available. I knew that this was going to eventually be a thing with the 40th Return of the Jedi. And I really want that Sarlacc pit as well. But if they don't, I'm honestly still going to pick it up because I do need a Boba Fett in the collection. So yeah. I'm super excited for this, and I can definitely see this coming.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, Chris, even if we didn't get the Sarlacc again, I think they would do something clever with that skiff base. I think that's certainly on their mind because they've done it before, and I think they would just expand on that and make it even cooler. So I could certainly see that. And again, my thoughts are, and maybe even they'll give us a damaged blaster, maybe swap out parts. We've seen with the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, he came with 2 jetpacks. So why couldn't they give us a damaged jetpack and a clean one, a damaged blaster and a clean one? I could certainly see that happening, and that would be kind of an ultimate Boba Fett set, in my opinion. That'd be really cool. Yeah, that would be awesome, TK. I'd be all for that. Sean, do you have any additional thoughts on maybe anything that could be included? What are your thoughts on the possibility of this Boba Fett happening?
If we could get it, I could possibly see them doing a different, like a floor base, like from Jabba's throne room, or like the gate and everything.
Yeah, that'd be
like
cool.
Over the Rancor pit. I could see like a floor base for that coming out, but more than likely it's just a straight reissue. No improvements, nothing. Or maybe they do something like how they did the Kenner and the regular Empire Strikes Back version. I mean, maybe something like that could possibly happen too, where they do different colors for it. But other than that, no.
Right.
I mean, I already have the original one with the Sarlacc pit. So if this happens, okay, great for everyone who missed out. But it's not something I'm really, wanting to have happen. But if it does, great for everyone who wants it. Am I expecting it? Yes, because it's a reissue and it's something simple for them to do.
Yeah, and they did it with Empire Strikes Back, right? So it just seems like it makes a lot of sense. And Boba Fett's slowly becoming like the Star Wars Iron Man, you know? So I could certainly see it happening. But moving on, guys, I think a lot of you are going to be happy. And Trevor, 1/6 shooter, if you're still in here, let me zoom in. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you with that tiny little picture. So I had to save this for not the last, but one of the last ones because everybody's talking about it. I saw a lot of talk about Chewbacca and Han in the chat. So, guys, I'm going to be optimistic about this one. I think, and I like the point that people bring up about, oh, what's up, guys? Shout out to my boy from Plastic Hero Collectibles. I told you guys that I secured myself a D100 Iron Man, and I have this gentleman here. I think your name's Jeremy. I know we've talked multiple times, so that's horrible, but I believe your name's Jeremy. Shout out to Jeremy. I'm sticking to that because I think I'm right. Check out his Facebook page.
I hope you're wrong.
Jeremy Casa?
Jeremy Casa. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
him. I'm right.
He's
I'm
a good
right.
dude.
It's
I've heard
Jeremy.
good things
See?
about him.
But yes, so shout out to Jeremy for helping me secure that D100 Iron Man. We've been talking. We're going to maybe work out some stuff for some reviews and things in the future. But yeah, Jeremy's a cool dude. So definitely check out his page, especially if you're overseas too, because he's got some really great prices, especially on secondary market stuff. But thank you. I very much appreciate that, Jeremy. And it's awesome to see you in here. Fad Gadget says, here we go. He said, haha, that's me. Again, I thought it was Jeremy, but I sometimes I'm bad with names, but we've been talking enough. I at least remembered that one. Yes, Jeremy is, and yes, Owen speaks very highly of you, Jeremy. He's certainly your cheerleader. So shout out to Owen for that. But guys, yes, we are talking about the Han and Chewie guys. Now, again, I had to save this one for one of the last ones because I know a lot of people wanted to talk about it, and you kind of, again, I always say you got to hang it like a piece of meat in front of your face, you know. I'm going to agree with my boy 8-Bit Flea, and he was the one that made that comment earlier. I'm very optimistic about, I know Han has been the stain of a Star Wars collector's existence. I know we always talk about the Bespin Han, but guys, it's like Harrison Ford's playing nice right now. He just recently did an autograph signing. He doesn't do those very often. That's a good sign. Not only that, in D5, he's playing nice with Disney, so I think if at all, now is the best time, and now is our best chance at getting another Han Solo figure. Obviously, the last Han Solo figure we saw was from The Force Awakens with the single release and the 2-pack with the Chewbacca. And I think now more than ever, guys, I'm going to be optimistic about this one. I think it's very possible. And not only that, if it's possible, this is the one that I have to have right here. The Duster Han, this Endor jacket Han. This is one of my favorite looks for Han. Actually, this is my favorite look for Han. I'll go out and say that. I love the Duster look. I love the complexity. I love the layers of the outfit. I love the options, right? Because you could basically kind of make it a New Hope Han Solo if you just take the Duster off. So this has a lot of possibilities in terms of what they could bring to the table with this. And I'm going to say it, guys. This may be our chance for a 2-pack finally. I know we said they skip on 2-packs a lot, but so far, obviously we haven't had many, but all of the Han Solo releases that we received thus far, we got 2-packs, right? We got a single release of both figures, both Han and Chewie, and we got a 2-pack. So I think for this one, they may go that route.
Movie.
Not for the Solo movie. I should say all of the Harrison Ford Han Solos, not for the Solo movie. Unfortunately, we never even got that Solo Chewbacca, which I really wanted with the goggles and everything. It's unfortunate we never got that. But TK saying Bespin Han #1. Bespin Han's an incredible look, don't get me wrong. But this one, for me, I just love the Duster look. I really do.
I want Tauntaun Rider Han.
Hoth Han, yeah. Hoth Han's a fantastic look as well.
Mm-hmm.
Balls Deep says, a wise man once said, multiple SKUs sit and die. But if it's Han Solo and Chewbacca, I don't know if it'll be doing much sitting, especially with today's structure and how everything works. I don't know. I don't know if these will sit too long. Yeah, and Matt, we talk about like people losing their minds for an announcement. Can you guys imagine if and when this does happen, the response? I mean, you got YouTubers that like go live instantly when stuff happens. You're going to see everyone and their mother going live, everybody making content.
They'd be going live at midnight.
Right. This is... Well, so 8-Bit Flea, I mean, when we're talking about Han Solo and Chewbacca, I mean, they could stack them on top of each other. It wouldn't be too bad. I mean,
I'll be honest. I want to be completely honest. If all we get on May 4th is Endor Han with Chewie,
Yo,
you could delete the rest of the list.
And
right, you could delete the rest of the list.
I will be happy
And
on
give me
May the
Stormtrooper.
4th. If that's what they do, just give us that.
I would agree.
What happened, Connor? You ain't wanna answer that about the packaging?
Chris, I actually did answer. I said they would be stacked on top of each other. Guys, I'm gonna put a bounty out. Like I'm gonna go like John Wick. We're gonna excommunicado Chris from the Hot Toys community if he says one more thing about the throne tonight. We're excommunicadoing him. We're gonna put a stamp on his file.
Chris has been life-size doing a 1-to-1 scale throne now.
Right, he's gonna like be crying in his bedroom tonight, and he's gonna be drawing up blueprints on how to build himself a throne.
And every time you go by the chair, it's going to say, "Your faith in your friends is yours."
Your lack of faith is disturbing. Yeah, David
Yeah,
says
that's the weakness.
I don't know about a 2-pack though. That'd be price a bunch of folks out, and it certainly would. And again, if I have hope in any 2-pack, it would be this one. But let's be real, like they've missed a lot of obvious 2-packs. Again, the C-3PO and R2 from Attack of the Clones, even. I mean, that was a very obvious 2-pack, and we saw nothing from that. So, look, TK's putting the bad juju on us again. He said they'll tease Endor Han and never release. Well, I mean, it's certainly possible, but I think now more than ever is our chance to see a Han Solo and Chewbacca. And I think they're going to release both. If they release
People been
one
wanting
forever.
another. Yeah.
Forever, dude. And like Bespin Han, it's a meme at this point, right? People have been talking about it forever. Beskar says apparently Bespin Han was supposed to drop a couple weeks ago, according to that internet. I don't know who said that, but I feel sorry for the people that believe that, because Bespin Han is once, like we said earlier, in a galaxy far, far away. And
He's a legend at this point.
yeah, they once spoke of the legend of Bespin Han. Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. So, but yes, guys, I think now more than ever is our chance to see this Han Solo and this Chewbacca. Am I going to put high stakes in it? I would say 70%. I'm going to go 70% on this one, just because, again, like mentioned, like 8-bit by 8-bit. We do have Indy 5, which is a good indicator that he's playing nice. Harrison Ford is playing nice with Disney. So I think it's more possible than ever. I'm going to put 70% on this one. Ryan, just real quick, what do you think the likelihood of seeing this set is?
I think I'm very up. I'm kind of mixed about it. I will say, harper back on what you said, this is probably the best possible chance, because he's got Indy 5 coming out, 40th anniversary of the Jedi. This is the absolute best time if we had a chance of getting him, whether it's a 2-pack or solo. I don't care. I really want a Han Solo. I really want one really bad. I would prefer an Empire version, because that's what I like, because Empire is my favorite movie. But at this point, I will literally take anything of Han Solo.
Any original trilogy Han, I think people will drool.
Yeah,
even
agreed.
let's Yavin ceremony Han, like any version of Han, people are going to jump on. So, and I think if they're going to
even
do
Han
this,
that got stabbed.
yeah, well, hey, we got the Han that got stabbed too. So if they're going to give us a sequel trilogy Han, like they better give us this Han. Finally, after all this time, we won it. And I agree with 8-bit. It's now or never. I mean, he's playing nice now. He's not always going to be that way. You guys know Harrison Ford's thoughts on Star Wars. So, and yes, at this point, Matt, Howie knows how bad we want these 2 figures. So I think he's going to deliver this time. But
I
guys,
think it'll be marked up. It will be marked up in price. So.
I think it will too. I mean,
and we'll all pay it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
We're all going to pay
I
it.
will.
I will pay 100%.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. Like Hot Toys knows they can charge whatever, and we're gonna pay it. We might not be happy with the price, but we're gonna pay it regardless. But moving on, guys, to our final one. I mean, if you know me, you know I couldn't leave this out, right?
Oh no,
It's a duplicate.
Not quite. And Chris,
reissue.
to be fair, this is actually one that you said, not this particular character, but I'm gonna expand on it.
Okay.
You said, I remember, Chris, you mentioned you wouldn't mind some other Ewoks, and it doesn't have to be Tebow. It could be other Ewoks. It could be, I would be fine with like some generic Ewok villagers. Of course, my favorite. I say it all the time. My favorite Ewok is Tebow, but and we've said this many times, Chris. Like that Wicket really put it in perspective for me. I'm like, dude, I would love to see more Ewoks. And we talked about it before. It was unfortunate that C-3PO didn't get his golden god throne. What's to say that we don't get that tiny little wooden chair, the throne, quote unquote, and maybe they'll include a couple Ewok villagers with it or something, you know?
That's very possible.
Or the Ewok lighter.
Or the stick that they roasted Luke on.
Or I mean, there's other like low gray. There's other named Ewoks they could do. There's a bunch of different named Ewoks they could do. I just
Dude, they could come with like so many weapons. Like there's just yeah.
And I love that Tebow has that little hand with the rock in it. Like it's just my boy Jeremy here is saying 4-pack of Ewok, bro. I'd lose my mind at a 4-pack. I don't ever see a 4-pack happening, but I would buy it in a heartbeat.
They're small enough, like
Chief
one in each
Sherpa.
corner.
You know how pissed everyone would be? We get that freaking stupid power droid with the Jawa, and then they come out with a 4-pack of Ewoks.
I'll take it.
Instead of getting our 2-pack of Jawas like we all begged for, they do that to us. They did us dirty with that one.
I'd have those little things swinging from my ceiling.
I know. Like at that point, I'm gonna get some fishing line and hang my Ewoks from the ceiling. I'll take a village. Yeah, bro. And that's the other thing, OG. Like, yeah, I could see that. In the terms of the realm of possibility, as much as I want it, guys, you know I love the Ewoks. This is lower on the list. I will say that it is lower. But I don't see it as impossible, and I like all the suggestions. Ewok with a Stormtrooper, because you guys know, I mean, even a Scout Trooper, maybe they could reuse that Scout Trooper and make a lot of people mad, and because you know the Ewoks are really going up against those Scout Troopers and tripping them up and putting that tripwire down, their version of tripwire, and tripping the bikes up and stuff. So I could certainly see it happening. It's just not high up on the list for Hot Toys, I'll be honest with you, but And that's the other thing. We talked about Leia earlier. I remember I had mentioned, like, if we're not going to get the Boosh Leia, it's probably going to be the Ewok Village Leia. So maybe they do that. Maybe we don't get the Boosh Leia. Maybe they do the Ewok Village Leia with the dress, because obviously that's a very simplistic outfit. That would be really cool. I'd be cool with that. And we saw an Ewok, obviously we saw Wicket paired with Leia in the past, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Base with the Ewok could be like top of a ATST or something.
Bro, that'd be insane. Yeah. The only thing that sucks is the scale of those. That's why I wish they would do ATST, but they're just so massive. But how cool would that be? Or even like we had mentioned earlier about the chopped off piece from the speeder. Ryan had mentioned. What about like a diorama base with just like part of a speeder? Yeah, that would be cool too.
Or where it got smashed in between the two.
Oh yeah, with the two logs, bro. That'd be amazing. Yeah. With the logs, that'd be so cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for stuff they could do with these Ewoks. Again, my personal thought, not high up on their list, probably won't make the cut, but I would love to see it. That's just my thought on it.
They could come with their own speeder.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're in one of the scenes, there was actually multiple of them on one speeder.
That's what I'm saying.
With one face in the rear.
One's flying like,
Yeah, so that would be really cool. I could see that as well. I mean, I'd love these little guys. It wouldn't be super difficult for them to make. They're obviously very small figures, and I love Jeremy's enthusiasm for a 4-pack, but I don't know if they would go quite that crazy. But hey, I'd buy it. I would love to army build some Ewoks because they're so small, right? You can make them fit in all the displays together. I think it'd be really, even if you have detox, you could fit a lot of Ewoks in one display and make it look really cool with all of them together.
Let me get you on an insider. The females who see the collection, they like these Ewoks.
They're cute and fuzzy, right? Until you actually learn about them, and then you're like, oh, maybe they're not so cute. But yeah, I've heard that a lot for sure. You keep your hands off Chris. He's a damn saint. He's untouchable.
Yeah, he's a real G.
No. Everybody's using that IG-12 meme tonight. I love it. But does anyone else, before we close out for the night, does anybody else have any additional thoughts on the possibility of some Ewoks?
We're going to get them, so... I mean,
you think so?
Yeah, 100%.
We got them in there.
Except without purple coats. No purple coats.
Yeah, I think I'm not really certain. I want to say 50-50 on the Ewoks.
Yeah.
Just because, Hot Toys has a lot of stuff they have to get out this year already. And then on top of working for what's already coming out next year. And anything with all the fur, like Chewbacca and this,
Yeah.
and any Ewoks, is going to be really time consuming for them to get done. So as much as I want it done, I don't really know.
I
So
agree.
I'm 50-50.
I agree. Yeah, I would love to see it. It's one that's definitely on my list, but the likelihood is not quite there for me. But I mean, I hope, like Ryan's very certain, I hope he's right, because again, as much as I would love Tebow, I would even take some like generic Ewok villagers. I think that'd be incredible, you know, just to fill in your display. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for the incredible turnout this stream. I mean, over 60 people for a majority of the stream is incredible. Thank you so much, guys, for the support. Those that are watching this on the replay, I very much appreciate you guys hanging out with us and checking out the replay. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below on some figures that you think are likely, maybe that weren't mentioned. I would love to have a discussion with you after the stream. Once again, guys, just a reminder, if you haven't already, enter into the giveaway. The giveaway is still running until the 23rd, I believe. Let me double check the calendar.
And you said the 25th.
Yeah.
25th, sorry, the 25th. So definitely get your entries in on the giveaway if you haven't already. Thank you, Chris, for reminding me. Let me end out the poll, guys. So real quick, guys, we have 68% say 5 or less. We have 27% say 6 to 8, and we have 4% say 8+ for the amount of announcements that we'll see on May the 4th. So the people have spoken. The people are saying 5 or less. I'm gonna be in the 6 to 8 crowd. I'm gonna say that right now. I know it's not the majority. I'm gonna stick with the 6 to 8 crowd. I know I said 8 bare minimum, but we're strictly talking about what will be announced on May the 4th. Of course, they're certainly probably going to release stuff after May the 4th. They're just going to announce some. Of course, we have 2 already, that being the Vader and the C-3PO.
But you can't really count those for May the 4th.
No, I'm saying...
How exactly was that worded? How was that worded for the poll?
It was... How many announcements do we see occurring on May the 4th? Sean, I'm not...
How many announcements?
No, I'm not trying to argue with you.
Jedi
I'm just trying to
40th
make sure if I knew if it was just for the 40th or if it was just for May the 4th.
Just for May the 4th, strictly, yeah. Just for May the 4th, like on that day. Since that
it
poll
says
kind of
40th
stemmed.
May 4th, but...
Right, I'm saying I should say the... Right, so I'm specifying the 40th Return of the Jedi releases that will happen on May the 4th, specifically on that day. So that's what the poll is for.
Okay, so I could see them less than 5. I could see less than 5 because I'm really hoping for the N1 on May the 4th.
That's fair.
We'll see.
That's fair.
Did they do TMS 100?
No, not
Or
yet.
whatever.
We're at 99, I think, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
still.
what was it, Rucker?
Take care,
99.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, bro. It was great to see you. I'll talk with you later for sure. Matt says more than 5 is quite a bit for one day. I wouldn't mind it for Return of the Jedi. Like I said, I'm shooting high, 6 to 8. Take care, 8-Bit Flea. Thank you so much, Fad. As always, guys, on your way out, if you have not subscribed already, please consider subscribing and drop a like on the stream. Again, every single one of you, if I don't name you individually, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Matt is saying Vader was 100.
That's MMS, though, ain't it?
Yeah, Vader was MMS. We're talking about the TMS, which is why kind of the N1 comes into the conversation.
And Vader was MMS 700, right?
Right, that was our
Yeah.
700 announcement, which was very worthy of the 700 announcement. 8-Bit Flea says, I voted 5 or less. That's fair. I mean, if we're going off of history, we saw, guys, we had 5 for the last 2 years and then 2 in 2020. So 5 or less is a very sure bet. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't say that's a bad bet to make. But Balls Deep is saying 10+ pack of Ewoks. Right, you're going crazy. Y'all are going crazy. Jeremy, you got them going wild with these Ewoks, bro, with that 4-pack. They're going crazy. Guys, I have to go, so unfortunately, I can't go through everybody's channels, but as always, we're going to do it on Thursday in grand fashion, but as always, guys, please check out Mr. Mom Collectibles, Hot Toys Nightmare, Collecting Madness. Thank you so much, as always, guys, for being here. Such an incredibly fun stream, a fun speculation stream for sure. We love talking Return of the Jedi, Star Wars, so it was really fun to talk with you all. Thank you so much for being here, as always, and sharing the conversation with me. And again, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, OG Fan, for dropping everybody's links, guys. As always, links are in the description and in the chat. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful moderators, Some Guy, OG Fan, Matt, everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for moderating the chat and being so fantastic throughout the stream. But guys, as always, we will see you next time. Thursday at 7 p.m. EST. We got some news to talk about. We're going to talk about that Bale Batman set. Don't you worry. I know we had to keep quiet about it tonight. We got to save that for the Thursday stream, but there's some great stuff to talk about on Thursday. I'm sure we're going to see something else this week, whether it's third party or not. You know we're ending it out strong, and Chris is busting out the belt. Chris, send us off in grand fashion.
Everybody hit that like button if you're new here and subscribe. Thank you all for coming. We all love you. Woo! Peace out!
Yeah, and on
Bring
that
the
note,
throne.
on that note, guys, we are out. Once again, check out everybody's links in the description. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night, and we will see you on Thursday at 7 p.m. EST. Take care, everybody. See you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.
Make a choice.